Are there any Polar Express passengers in need of refreshment?
Santa Claus and ho ho ho.
Where's the Tylenol? Welcome to the party, pal.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Son of a nutcracker!
Papa Shisho. Cause I'm old enough to know when life is coming at you with his pants down.
Oh, December already been that hard for you?
And with that, welcome to another episode of the Cheap Seat Critics podcast, where this week we are covering Krampus. With us today, we have...
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Rider.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
I'm Spranks, and hey, if you're listening from... I don't know where this movie takes place, but hey, if you're listening in December, I guess that's somewhere to go about this. You can find us updating anything to your heart's content over on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Bluesky. We also have a LetterBoxd where we have all our average out numbers and graphs of whatever it is we have covered up to this point. We also have visual forms of audio and visual over on YouTube and Rumble, but if you're more just the audio type, totally fine. Plenty of platforms out there as well to listen from.
My
And
only
as
guess.
mentioned-
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my only guess as to where this is, Sprinks, is possibly Germany. I think it's Krampus is German folklore.
It is
yes, I don't
German,
think this
but
takes
it takes place in
Germany.
Ohio.
Yeah,
It takes place in
Ohio.
Ohio.
I see.
Found that during my fact hunting. There was a deleted
I'm like,
scene
this
of the news.
does not look like a German neighborhood.
But yeah, it is German folklore or / Austrian. But yeah. All right. Yeah, covering Krampus 2015. Let's jump into our histories, starting with Ryder.
Yeah. So my history with this one is I heard a lot about it, wanted to see it, never really got around to it. So this was my first time for the podcast. That being said, there are some things that I did hear about it that I guess would give me a history. I had to research a lot of Christmas monsters, Christmas-related folklore monsters for some of my Christmas writing projects because I do Christmas-themed stories. And Krampus was one of them, so I ended up deep diving on, I guess, the folklore around him.
All right. Well, you might have some insight then. I will go next. For this film in particular, I had not seen it coming up to the podcast. I've seen it once for the podcast. I recall when the trailer came out and thinking, not my cup of tea, because I'm not the biggest horror guy. I also had a perception of this film that I don't think is matched with the actual film. We'll dive more into that when we actually talk about it. And in terms of Krampus as an entity, my old social studies teacher went to Austria and participated on December 5th for their, I forget what the actual event for the Krampus Day is called, but Krampus Day essentially on December 5th in Austria. And he owns a Krampus mask from the event that he brought to class one day and talked about it a bit. So that is my history. We'll move on to Spranks.
Yes, Krampusschnock, I believe. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Yes, for this film, this is my first time viewing the film. Back in 2015, because this came out December 4th, I remember seeing the trailer for this, and unless I'm confused with a different movie that also revolved around Krampus, I really thought Beth was played by Maisie Williams. And that's something that's just stuck with me since seeing that trailer, and it's not correct upon seeing it now. And I think it was probably in the trailer, but those gingerbread men are very familiar to me. I did not go back and see the trailer after finishing this film, but I feel like they were in the trailer for me to remember them since I haven't seen the movie. In terms of Krampus overall, I know of Krampus, I know of the folklore. I wasn't raised on, didn't really have much German descent in my family, but I wasn't raised on like Naughty Kids and Krampus situation. But I am one at a point in my life when a German was introduced into my family. and still part of my family currently, we are in tradition of putting a pickle on the Christmas tree. So I'm knowledgeable of it, but don't like hold to it, if that makes sense. And only other thing I can think of Krampus that I recall that I've seen and know of is in the TV show Grimm. One of the characters, there's a whole episode around Krampus. And one of the characters does celebrate a Krampus schnock.
Alrighty. And with that, we will jump into some facts that I found. Hopefully they're interesting. There were a lot for this. And of course, I will start with the box office as I tend to do, or budget. I'm starting with budget. I said it in the wrong order. It had a budget of 15 million, so moderate,
Okay.
not too much, and a box office of 61 million. So it did pretty
Ooh, not
well,
bad.
all things considered. Not a box office smash, but definitely got its money back.
Well, it is, I suppose, a tad bit of a niche for horror Christmas, but also revolving around a well-known folklore that there isn't much, what's the word? Not media, but
It's
I
not
guess-
much in the public lexicon.
Yeah, it's not a
Sure.
really, really popular piece of mythology.
yeah, I was entertainment, I guess. That's what it meant.
Yeah, an avenue that's not well represented in movies and stuff. All right. So the film was originally set to release November 25th, but was pushed back to December 4th to coincide with Krampusnacht. Obviously, I'm going to pronounce a lot of stuff wrong in my fact section.
Mhm.
So they did push it. I don't know why they didn't plan to do that in the first place, having it so close, but they did change it to be closer to the date.
If that was the reason for the push, that is interesting why it wasn't chosen to begin with, if that was availability for them.
Yeah, I don't know. And I couldn't find a reason why it was set November 25th. I don't know if there was like a competing movie or something, but it's kind of weird that that wasn't the plan. The
Interesting.
visible breath in the cold exteriors was done digitally, but a major component of it involved filming real people in freezers reading dialogue for the scenes. Their breath was then isolated and added optically into the shots. That was kind of cool to find. That's
Actually,
like extra effort.
that's pretty good. I mean, I mean, you could the breath looks real, so I do appreciate the effort they took in. That's cool to hear that.
Yeah, it's not just some particle effects that
Yeah.
they generated. It's actually
Yeah, it's not just like a CGI
overlaid.
goop.
Yeah, so that was cool. The opening sequence was shot on location in a single day at a department store in New Zealand. It was also the only place filmed on location.
Interesting.
Well,
Everything
yeah, I
else
guess
was
everything
on a
would be within the set of the
soundstage.
house or the
Well,
road.
it was a fake house.
Yeah. Well, obviously they had to destroy it.
Yeah. Max's mom alludes to the noodle incident that estranges the family from a neighboring one. The noodle incident was often referred to, but I don't know. I don't agree with the fact that it was often brought up, but it was brought up. And it is a reference to Calvin and Hobbes cartoon strips where it's also referenced, the noodle incident, but not answered. I'm not too familiar with Calvin and Hobbes, but a guest of ours we've had is maybe
Yeah, it's the fig.
contact them,
Yeah, the fig might know.
see if they know the noodle incident.
Interesting.
Many of the Krampus's minions were also real Christmas / winter folk figures in European cultures, such as Yule Goat and Icelandic names. Oh gosh, I'm gonna Stekjarster. Oh boy.
You
Are
want
named
That was
to
in
try that
after
again?
the Icelandic Yule lads who are said to visit homes each of the 13 nights before Christmas.
Okay, so those are the elves?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those masks represent different folk names.
Oh.
Interesting.
That's
I
neat.
actually quite like that.
I did catch that they all had a different mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like the gingerbread hook trap. That's a specific folklore with a Yule lad. I forgot the name. I didn't write that one down, but that's a specific reference as well. Low Owen, Stevie, is Stefania yeah, Lave Owen, Beth, also known as Beth, younger sister in real life. My goodness.
Okay, so Beth and Stevie were actually related.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Beth being the younger one. It's kind of surprising she looked older to me.
Oh. That is interesting.
Surreal chemistry is what I'm hearing.
Original outlines for the film felt too much like a horror film and relied on Krampus picking people off throughout the town. They eventually brought it forward to being a Christmas movie involving a child's wish leading to the family into darkness. I kind of prefer that concept of it being more like focused and not just terrorizing a town, but focusing on one central thing.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think I would agree. But
Yeah, I would agree with that because it allows you to focus more on the characters and stuff like that. It would be fun to watch a Krampus slasher film or a Krampus like terrorizing town film, but I don't think it would have.
I think both could work.
Both could work. The other ones would be more. With how that's going to work, you'd have to make Krampus the character, like the main
Yeah, I was
character.
gonna say like a slasher film type deal.
You could make it a slasher, you could make it like a monster movie.
Yeah. You'd have to focus on Krampus,
A
or you'd
cop.
have to do a cop, or uh, like a group of survivors that are like constantly being harrowed. That would
It'd be different.
that are moving around the town anyway. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do
No,
I
it would
think
be
I think I ultimately agree with that choice of deciding to focus on a single household.
And the last two I'll bring up because I already said a lot. When the power goes out on the street, you can see the Amityville Horror House. I didn't see it, but apparently it's there.
Oh.
And
That's
also a
cool,
lot of the
but I didn't see it.
houses in the snow globes at the end are apparently other references to other houses in film.
Oh. Those snow globes were so small, I couldn't make it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't try
any of them,
looking
but
for him. Yeah,
apparently they are references, or at least some of them.
that's cool.
And the
Okay.
last one I'll go with is Max's advent calendar is seen in Omi's animated flashback. The real one was scanned and recreated for the segment.
That's
I
cool.
What do
guess
you mean
it's a family
scanned and
heirloom.
recreated?
Like digitally scanned to put in the CGI.
Oh, to put in the flashback. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And that's it. There's one more I'll save for the end because it'll be more relevant then. That will be it. Any facts you guys want to bring to the table?
Well, I pulled up the box office looking for November 25th, 2015, to see what other like competing Christmas possible movies were in theaters to result in additional push. Only thing I can see is The Night Before, which is the Seth Rogen. Oh gosh, what's his name? Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie.
That's November 25th or December films?
These are November 25th.
Okay. Because, I mean, I would imagine if it was to avoid competition, it would probably be movies in December. That's why it would have been earlier. But I didn't look into that. But I don't think they'd be scared of that movie.
No. But November 25th also had some heavy hitters, kind of looks like. It had the Minions movie, Intern, Maze Runner, Scorch Trials, Pan, the first Goosebumps movie, Bridge of Spies. Biggest one it looks like here, though, was The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2.
Is this November 25th of all time? Because you said Goonies.
I said Goonies?
Didn't you say first Goonies?
The first Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Huh. I don't know why I heard
Jack
Goonies.
Black.
Okay. Man, that's that old now? That's crazy. All right, so yeah, there's some heavy hitters.
We're getting up there, gentlemen.
Yes, this movie is 10 years
quickly.
old.
Kind of wild to think.
Yeah, I do remember the advertisements for this peripherally. So it is weird to think that we're 10 years away, 10 years off of this film.
Yeah,
Alrighty, we
crazy.
will jump into the coverage. We are doing a 3-act structure. Act 1 consisting of the beginning to when Beth is taken. So that is part of the act, is her actually getting taken. Her
Okay.
screams in the distance. And we will start this off with Spranks.
Ooh, are we allowed to ask overarching things throughout the movie? Like big questions?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty standard with the acts, so I'm good with
Okay.
that.
Okay, cool. I'll go with my most annoyed thing about this movie, I think.
All right, let's
Is
hear it.
the grandma speaking German and having subtitles so the audience can understand German of what she's saying. And the choice for her to speak German and not have subtitles and have Max be the voice, and then for her to speak English pretty fluently, and then choosing not to speak English to those who don't understand German.
All right, so what is the root of the issue?
All these different forms of it that it was just annoying me.
I'll
The
clear up
twist and
my.
reveal of her speaking English, that's okay. But I feel like for those who don't, Max and Tommy are like the only two who can understand her.
Yeah.
I-
When it's brought up, like the subtitles, it's usually not within context of it being explained. Like there was, there were no subtitles, and then I think Aunt, what's her face blinking on the name right now?
Dorothy?
Aunt Dorothy, brought up what was she talking about, and then it's explained. So I guess it's just to keep the flow of what the characters are feeling, so the audience understands because it's being explained. But I don't
In
think
that
that's entirely
scene,
consistent either.
no, in that scene for Max to convey what was being said is okay, but it's different when the grandma and Tommy are both saying kind of like goodbye, we'll be safe as Tommy's leaving, and nothing's explained there. What they're saying, you're just like, oh, mom and son having a little like heart to heart kind of thing, but don't understand any of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes to the direction of what they want the feeling of. Like, do they want the
So-
audience to kind of guess what's being said instead of just being told? So does it give more impact that, oh, it's a close son-mother dynamic, and you build it stronger than maybe what could be conveyed? Hard to say, I guess, on that for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any issues with obviously the grandma alternating between German and English. I've met a lot of old people who prefer to speak their native language when they as often as they can. So I don't know if I necessarily have that issue, but I will say there's definitely not a consistent way in which the audience is conveyed the information that's in German. We're introduced obviously with subtitles because I think I agree with you, Spriggs, that they could have probably trimmed something out of there. I think it could be better for not to get any subtitles at all at the beginning, and we could just pick up on Max's responses in English to get the context for what she's saying, and I think that would probably
think that would help.
Yeah, I think that would be the only one I would want to change, because the subtitles are the one that feels out of place. Because everything else is either explained or context dependent, but the one scene with her and Max at the beginning where she has subtitles, it is a long conversation, but it might be better just for us to get Max's responses and fill in the context of what she's saying. I think that would at least keep it consistent.
In the sum of a whole, yes, but I'm backwards on you on that needing to be changed since that's the introduction to the character. makes everything after that feel off.
So I guess to tack onto it, how do you feel about not? We don't know explicitly what she said when the android is like. It basically means we're screwed. Because we don't really know word for word what Omi said because Max didn't know what she said.
No. And you're asking how that made me feel?
Yeah, does that bother you?
It feels like after the backstory of her speaking English, whenever she speaks German, she's only speaking to either Tommy or Max in context. She's deliberately choosing not to speak English for anyone else to understand her.
Yeah, I guess by technicality purposes, yeah. And she spoke English to deliver the story so everyone understood. So I guess
So,
is this more of a objective complaint or a subjective complaint, or both?
more so subjective, because just found it annoying, the choices. Again, the twist I did like, it's like, oh, she does speak English. Okay. But still choosing to speak German in situations where only two people would understand when everyone's still listening to her seems off, especially off the introduction with the subtitles, and the subtitles kind of just go away. They don't really come back, even for like a joke thing for the audience to see, like if she said like fuck or something. But the objective little thing I have to it is starting the introduction to a character who doesn't speak English with subtitles and then choosing not to have them moving forward when they're present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch it and just keep tally mentally if every single time that switches, if it makes sense or not.
Yeah. I guess I'm confused on what you said earlier than Springs, because you said you were the opposite of me. And I said, because I made the suggestion that we would just remove the subtitles at the beginning and let Max deliver the context we need. You said you didn't like that idea of change,
No,
or
in the sum of the whole of the entirety of the movie makes sense for that to change that way. But as an introduction to the character moving forward linearly of presenting the movie of characters, and that's how the character comes across as the subtitles being able for the context between Max and the grandma. Moving forward, I feel like the subtitles should be there so the audience is still understanding her in times, but they're choosing not to. And then in times after the reveal of English, it's then deliberately showing that the grandma's choosing not to speak English to communicate to the whole family.
okay, all right. Just wanted to clear that up. It was my own confusion. I'll go next.
I will go ahead.
Yeah, if you want me to host.
Yep, go on.
uh, I do. The opening of this film kind of reminded me of a much tamer version of the Thanksgiving opening. Still the super chaotic, like consumerist
I think you mean
Christmas.
Thanksgiving opening.
Right.
Thanksgiving had the pilgrim boobs. I didn't see any
Right.
pilgrim boobs in this one.
That's true. Okay, so it's just called Thanksgiving. I don't know, the names
Yeah.
of that one still confuses me. All right, yeah, it's just
No,
called
just
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah, it reminds me of the opening of Thanksgiving, except a little less, obviously a little less violent.
Yeah, you don't see someone's scalp getting ripped off by a cartwheel.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think it's a good way to start the movie, like introduction of like the hectic and rudeness of greed kind of start. Like it's not necessarily happy. It's a good way to show off, kind of like.
It starts out with the darker side of Christmas, which is kind of what the story is going to lean into.
Yes. My complaint to it, which does hit my objective, is it's all in slow motion, and the expressions and movements of those in the shots feel overemphasized. To me, it comes across that they know that the shots they're doing are to be in slow motion, and it makes it feel very fake.
Well, that touches on a larger topic that I was going to bring up, so I guess I'll bring it up now. And that's I don't think this movie knows its identity. I I feel like it wants to be horror, it wants to be comedy, and I don't think it knows how to balance the two.
I can agree. I think the comedy elements are not balanced well.
I can't even think of any comedy elements, honestly.
Well, I mean, like the parents just dying. This isn't accurate, but the parents just dying, and Max seeing it, and then he's like, "I don't know how to drive a stick. We have a hybrid?" I'm like, yeah, that's good
Yeah.
comedy.
I guess that counts as comedy.
Or
Yeah,
Rosie
that one
jumping and
was
eating the
jarring.
gingerbread.
Yeah, and the ant getting taken. That's definitely a comedic beat. See ya in hell after all that. Uh, I just don't think they knew what the identity of this film.
Yeah. I
Well, as you said, Crimson, they wanted to dial back from horror and give it more of a Christmas feel, which I think is where written in more comedy bits were. And the balance of it seemed like they started off wanting the horror as an idea, but to dial it down. Which is why I think the horror element is stronger and comes across better than the comedy.
Possibly, it's attacked upstairs and stuff. Is still comedic because of how people are reacting. I mean, he's getting attacked by a robot, and he's like, "Oh, come on!" I mean, that's not normal. That's like a comedic take.
yeah, I do think the movie, in retrospect, doesn't know fully what it wants to be. It kind of feels like it wants to be an adaptation of folklore, but they didn't commit to the horror aspect of the folklore. Not completely, anyway. That's so it feels. This feels horror adjacent. I would be how I would describe it.
Yeah, and it's weird
Interesting.
that it's just like kid gloves. There's nothing like graphic in this. It's all very PG-13.
I would say the most graphic thing about it is the worm monster when it opens its mouth to swallow one of the kids. Like you could see the boot, and it's kind of you don't necessarily see the blood, but
Yeah,
you can
Jordan
get the
got eaten.
yeah, you get the impression of gore and stuff like that. And the design, I think, is the design of the worm's jaw hinging to do that is probably the most grotesque thing in this film,
I just feel like they could have
outside
played
of
it up
Dorothy's
with the
personality.
parents at least,
Oh,
because I could see with the kids them not wanting to like dismember them or something, but they got several adults that they could play around with, and they just had like three of them get sucked into the ground, one yanked out a
yeah.
doorway window, and one jumped on on the Jack in the Box. They
I
didn't
guess
play around with.
What I guess I sorry, too many thoughts. I think the goriest thing is probably Howard's leg, but it's a very small shot. So I wouldn't really say this movie has any gore. I think this movie probably would have benefited for being an R rating and up it to have more. They do stick to the one F-bomb, and I don't think it was really the best place to put it. It was okay. Actually, it was placed for comedy bit, so a bit of a detriment. But what did I think all of us called that quote unquote worm a different name?
I refer to it as Jack in my notes.
Okay, so it was Jack to you,
I didn't
and
call it
Ryder was
anything.
worm.
It was just off the top of my head. It's like the worm clown monster thing. So it's just
Okay, I had it listed as Jester Jabba.
that's.
Well, that is
I think yours
appropriate.
wins in terms of name contest. I will happily refer to it as Jester Jabba for the rest of this recording.
I'm sure it will come up.
But Crimson, I take it that is like one of the folklore creatures.
I would imagine because like all the elves were, but I didn't find anything specific to the Jack in the Box.
Okay, seemed more standoutish than the gingerbreads or the killer teddy bear or the harpy
It did.
doll.
Had a lot of screen time. I mean, it was a massive, I guess, taker, not a killer. Taker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll I'll jump to one of my favorite bits in the film that I really liked as a detail in retrospect because I didn't know at the time. But I really liked the delivery guy, and he insinuates that the presents that on the doorstep were delivered by UPS, the guys in brown, as it were, and it, that's Krampus presents, as it turns out.
Yeah, that they put under the tree up in the attic.
Yeah, so
Or whatever that was.
yeah, I do
Ooh, we'll get
appreciate,
there.
yeah, I do appreciate I guess in retrospect that those didn't come out of nowhere. Those weren't just like, it wasn't another delivery that they were returning. They drew attention to it because that's a setup that's going to pay off later.
Yes.
And I
Yeah,
appreciate
good, because
that.
I didn't even catch it, so I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I was very happy that I guess I picked up on.
I don't know, the Krampus and how it's summoned is very confusing. I mean, usually I'm the one that brings up magic systems and stuff, and I think this has some questions tied to it.
I can see
So,
that.
yeah, I mean, it causes. Okay, there's two ways to read the ending, probably, so I don't want to try to touch that till the end. But um, one of the possible endings is the family's gone, right, and they're in a snow globe somewhere,
Yeah.
which would leave real world ramifications of a vanishing family or town, if you want to extrapolate to that, or neighborhood. Uh, it's it's just weird that one household losing the Christmas spirit summons him to take out the neighborhood. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. I will say this. I was operating for a large part of the film under the assumption that the family and their house kind of got transported elsewhere, so like it wasn't kind of like an elseworld like reality Marvel place, which would allowed like so it was a self-contained world, and they just transported like a uh and they had like a recreation of the town around it, and it was just a ghost town obviously beyond that. Um
I
but
was under almost the same thought, being that there wasn't a single other person around.
that's the thing, right? The only other person
Get
is
the
the
mail
dead
guy.
delivery driver. And I think he could have just been got. He could have just gotten killed by unfortunately just being in the wrong place at the wrong time when they happened to be transported. But the issue with that is that the snowman's already out front, which implies that they were transported. And the snowman just was unlucky to be in their vicinity.
He's also the only one that got killed, like confirmed. Like all the other ones got taken.
Yes, off-screen deaths.
Yeah,
So it's a little strange.
yeah,
Why would they have just left him out there to freeze? I mean, the plow driver, he got yanked out of his car.
yeah.
True, but also another off-screen death.
Yeah, but he wasn't frozen in there. So I do wish they were either a bit more, well, yeah, just more defined on it.
Well, the grandma's backstory, sorry for jumping, is kind of explained that Krampus killed the parents, and the folklore of Krampus is taking naughty kids away. So I'm to believe that the adults were killed and the children were taken, versus everyone just being taken.
That's what I was kind of leaning towards, hoping they showed the parents getting like killed, but they don't. And that's like outside knowledge of the folklore. This movie in isolation needs to establish that, because it doesn't say the Krampus takes kids. That's not what it says.
No.
Yeah, it would need to better distinguish it. Um, but otherwise, yeah, it's really weird because there's a lot of I have a lot of questions with how the magic system works as well. Um, because either Krampus killed an entire town, or they were and it just happened to be isolated out, and then the Krampus just decided to fuck with them for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be a bit more defined. Because
Yes.
if they were transported into this like little pocket world, then I think that would need to be clarified more.
The only thing that was really kind of shown was at 1937, and I wrote it down because it looked bad. But the like dark cloud forming over the house.
Yeah, after he threw the letter out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the summoning situation, I can take that somewhat as like
A visual for it.
a visual or like a portal or a dome of sort, something to make it of this house and not the whole neighborhood. Like this cloud started here.
Yeah, but I don't think it visually portrays portal or anything like that because it could just represent a magic like snowstorm because that wake up in the morning, it's a snowstorm. There's magic happening, snowmen and stuff. So it being more clearly defined instead of magic cloud could mean this, could mean that, would be nice.
Yes, more defined definitely would be nice. I just find
Like
it
if there
weird that
was a
the
shimmer
start of the
behind.
problem where the cloud starts wouldn't be the starting point of Krampus to arrive at. Like it's weird that this is the cause and the summon for that cloud to form over the house, yet Krampus is 3 blocks down as a starting point.
Well, it also causes the potential continuity error of Omi, the grandma, that she was not put into a snow globe when she summoned him all when she was a kid.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
she wasn't taken to the underworld.
Yeah, I don't have much issue
Which
with that because it's
tells
implied.
me that the snow globe other world is when you get taken from the normal world. It's not the summoning of him that turns it into the portal. It's being taken.
Yeah.
Because the grandma never got taken and didn't get put into a snow globe
I think those are
until
two
after,
separate
obviously.
things.
How come?
I think one is the summoning to bring Krampus to wherever you're at and fulfill the wish. Where, sorry to jump into a different act, but that's what the bell given to Max was. The same thing that the grandma had, like the gift of the bell and your memory of the loss of hope. But Max turned around and changed it, which is what got him into a snow globe. The grandma didn't get out of bed and go after Krampus because of the death of her parents. She just accepted it until the old age. So she had to live with it.
So are you saying the snow globe and the potential pocket world are two separate things?
Yeah.
Are you leaning that as well, Ryder?
That would make the most sense with what's depicted. I'm also the opinion that Grandma being given the bell is completely separate from being transported to another world because Max was given the bell, as a memory token, but he rejects it, and ultimately Krampus takes him with him after that.
Yeah, I think if Max just took the bell, he would have lived up to the age of Grandma. Actually, Max is the reason for Krampus to come back to Grandma anyhow. So as long as Max's family is nice, I think Max could have just died in old age, but being the reason his family's dead.
And the core of what I'm trying to get with this question is, was the grandma in a pocket world when she was a kid?
No.
And
I
that's
think,
why I don't understand
well,
why that's different.
Pocket World as a snow globe, no. Pocket World as upon the summoning did what is happening here with like the blizzard, like its own thing, yes.
So for me, the core objective problem is that none of this is defined, and that is a problem for the film. And to kind of, I guess, explain to you, Crimson, the flashback with the grandma. Once Krampus arrives, that is the pocket world, but we don't know how or when or why they got back because we're never really shown how they would potentially get back to the real world.
Assuming they left the real world.
Assuming they left the real world.
Because the grandma would have to come back to the real world because she survived the endeavor.
Yeah. It could be as it could be as simple as they go to sleep and wake up in the real world. But I don't know. Like I said, the film is very vague about it, and I do find that as an objective problem. As much as I enjoy the theorizing about how the magic system with this works, none of it's defined, and I do think that poses a problem. Because we're
And I'd say so on both ends,
yeah.
whether it is or isn't. Because if it
Yeah.
isn't, then you got the whole world interference, police activity, news coverage, all absent.
Yeah, it would be an issue in either end, I think. So I do think the film's attempts at being vague are probably in favor of the film to favor the best possible outcome, because I don't have to mark it, I guess, for like failing in a particular aspect, but it gets marked less for being vague, I guess is how I would say it, though it still poses its set of questions and problems that never really are addressed.
Now that we have the damage ladder established, what does this take for both of you? I guess with the writer first.
Yes. It's a pretty big world building question mark. I'm going to lean that this is probably one of the bigger issues with the world issues. Haha. With the world building, I'm probably going to list it as a flaw. I think in either case present if it had committed to either venue without fully explaining it, it would be a problem. Or showing the repercussions. So like if it had taken all place in the real world and didn't show the repercussions, it would have been a problem. And the same would be for the fully 100% to the magic system.
Wait, Springs.
I have it as an issue. It's undefined, but the movie still functions and flows depending on whether side you choose from.
All right. And I did have it as a problem, but Ryder, you kind of got me on the flaw side by us not seeing a definitive repercussion of a news coverage at a post-credit scene of this family disappeared on Christmas Day. That would ground it as incongruent with like the grandma story.
Yeah.
Potentially. So I'll have it as a flaw, I guess.
Fair enough.
That's a lot of overarching stuff. Springs, you got any more act specific?
Yeah. A big subjective hit to me. That I'm like, wow, I'm only like 6 minutes into the movie. The mom hanging up the Christmas photos on the wall and realizing that the photo taken is a bad photo. I think that's horrific to show off to a mom, because to me that comes across that this family was in a rush and didn't care and took one photo with Santa and left and took what they could. From my experience in life, you have to sit through many photos as the parents choose what looks good, what sibling has to turn their chin, look the certain way, who's sitting on the lap, is Santa blinking. A lot of things have to go through to get a family Christmas photo right. So showing so much error in a Christmas photo that's being hung up on a wall with no explanation of like, oh yeah, that's the year this happened, or we were in a rush. Remember, it was Black Friday when we got this done, or some explanation to it to even excuse the situation at hand with the photo of Santa staring at Beth's ass or something. I found that terrible.
Okay. I guess to talk a little bit. I think it is venue specific with the like sitting with Santa photos because some you do have plenty of time to get alternative photos. But there are some that's like
Yeah, but
quick
if this
one
was
and
like
done.
at the
Gotta go. There's a
mall,
line.
yeah.
Yeah, that
If this is at
some
the
you
mall,
don't really have the time. But her, it's kind of like in Thor where oh gosh, what's her friend's name? Um,
it's not Jane, but
Darcy?
Darcy.
Darcy. I knew it was a D name. Darcy, when she looked at the whiteboard and saw the photo of Thor, when they would have noticed when the photo was printed, type deal. It's a delayed reaction for the film, and I think she would have noticed how like Thomas is not looking at the camera; he's looking somewhere else. The Santa looking bad, and her looking disinterested in the photo. They all look pretty bad, except I guess Beth and Max look pretty normal. I guess that's my issue with it is that she's acknowledging it as a bad photo now and not earlier. But I can totally buy that's the only photo they got.
Yeah, I have pretty much the same purview of it. Depends on the venue. I have more of an issue that she noticed now because she would have been given the photo at the mall. And in that case, I would have just needed an explanation as to why she didn't have a chance. Because they had to come home in order to, because they do have guests they're going to entertain. But I do think that it would have been better to just give a throwaway line to say that they were in a rush.
Oh, yeah, but nothing says that photo was taken that day.
It's that's also true, but I don't. Again, that goes into I don't know what to make of the
Yeah.
information.
No, I agree. If you're given the photo and see that it's bad, especially there with the time of cell phones of this film, they would show previews of like, oh, this is what the photo looks like, and print it out. You'd get back in line, or if you don't have time, come back another day.
Yeah, I would agree for most circumstances.
Yeah. Like this isn't a Polaroid. This is a full hanging up on the wall, like 12 by 18 photo frame or something.
I guess it is in its favor that it's ambiguous how long it's been, because if it was just like the day before, then it's less of a window for them to go back to get a new photo. Because it's either between the Black Friday event and the 22nd, because the 22nd is when the family comes over.
Okay, yeah, I just want to double check they are in different clothes in the photo.
Once again, the film skates. Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm moving on to another point.
I was gonna say once again the film skates by being more vague than.
But still taking damage because
Yeah, still
I
taking
do think
damage.
they would have noticed. So
Yeah, well, we can all agree on that they would have noticed.
I don't know if I'm the only one. Well, actually, I don't know if Ryder has seen the movie. I can never remember. Christmas Vacation. Have you seen that, Ryder?
Now I'm gonna look it
Shall
up.
Yeah, I
Give it a
don't.
chance.
I always forget. I know Sprinks has,
Yes.
but I had some real Cousin Eddie introduction vibes.
Yes.
They all
With
came
Howard.
Taking a look at this movie poster, no, I have not seen Christmas Vacation, and I don't think I want to.
Oh, that's a little
in.
cool.
Oh, okay. Well, challenge accepted.
Um,
Anyways, real vibes to their introductions. I don't know. It's almost borderline reference to me. I didn't find anything in the facts saying it was. So, but it
it's
definitely
close.
felt like an homage.
I kind of feel a little bad for David Koechner. Hopefully that's how you pronounce his name. The guy who plays Howard. I feel like he plays kind of the same role in everything he does.
I suppose. Yeah, he doesn't get much range. I've never seen him in like an emotional scene where he has to cry in a serious way, not in a jokey way. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is like that Alzheimer's commercial he did. I don't think it was
I don't remember that.
Some like memory loss.
Sorry, that was not meant to be a joke. That was not.
Oh well, you just made it
at
one.
all.
Yeah, way to go.
It up.
Called attention to it. Now it is a joke. Well done.
Yeah, and it's funny because not to what Spring said. I got a Get Smart reference out of this. I don't think it was an intentional one, but they say maxi pad, which is what they call Max Smart in Get Smart. They call him maxi pad when they're bullying him, and the actor for Howard is the one bullying him. So that's kind of a funny little potential coincidence,
tie-in.
potential reference.
Nice. All right, fair enough. I will jump to we talked briefly about the scene because it had the German subtitles, but I actually do quite like the scene between Max and Omi, because you get a nice sense of their relationship, and Max obviously learned German to talk to her and stuff like that. Because we don't really see Beth at any point speaking German.
No, they get Beth out of the movie real fast.
Yeah, they do.
That was surprising.
That
her presence in the family dynamic is like, oh, she's going to be like a mainstay, and then boom, first axed.
I mean, I guess my expectations were subverted, I guess. But yeah, no, I really like the scene between I like a lot of Omi's scenes with Max, but the first one does a very good job of introducing their dynamic.
The first one's sweet.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you were going to continue off of what Ryder said, you go first. I was going to jump to something else.
Yeah, it was going to be a broader like agreement of I like a lot of the one-on-ones in this film, and we'll cover more of them going forward. But Sprinks, go ahead.
Okay. I mean, yeah, with that Tommy and Max in the bedroom, I thought was very good. But I don't understand a family to make such an elaborate, fancy dinner on December 22nd. That didn't make sense to me.
The only thing I have for that, well, because he's like, well, it should be a Christmas Eve or Christmas Day dinner, not a
exactly.
December
What's their plans
22nd
for
dinner.
that?
The thing is, we don't know what the whole event was going to be because the power gets cut out. Maybe they were going to have a feast every day. It wouldn't have been a couple days before Christmas Eve dinner. It could be every day they do that. So I'm fine with it because of that. The plans kind of just get tossed out the window because the power outage. So because it's ambiguous, I'm fine with this one.
Yeah, it's because it's ambiguous. I do think it's good. It's fine. I will say from my experience that we used to have a big Christmas dinner for the whole family, typically on the 21st, because that just happens to be the day that we can all get together. And then we all get together very briefly for presents on the holidays themselves. And then there was one year where we did manage to have my grandparents hosted the 21st. My parents hosted the 22nd. My uncle hosted the 23rd. And then we kind of looped back around to one of like the family friends hosting a huge party on the 24th. So I think it varies genuinely.
That's a lot of Christmas.
Yeah, I gained a lot of weight that year as a kid.
It makes sense to me with time allotted scheduling to try to manage to get everyone together at certain points where not everyone can be at every time.
Yeah.
But Tommy tells Max, knowing the family coming is going to be here for the next 3 days. There isn't like this is the only day they were able to be here.
Yeah. In which case, it could have, the fact that it's ambiguous, I think it's once again, more to the film's strength, because for all we know, Beth and Thomas, no, it's not Beth, Thomas and, what's her name? Sarah. Thomas and Sarah are, they're in charge of making like the big first elaborate dinner, and then it could have been flipped the next night for the Beth. The other family.
I disagree with that though.
Yeah, I don't think Sarah would have given control.
With Sarah's feelings towards the family of their introduction without anything really happening other than them arriving, no.
Yeah, like I said,
I can see Sarah doing an over-the-top dinner every night.
Yeah,
I can see him doing that.
I could see her sister, like she would let her sister into the kitchen with her, but I don't think she would trust anyone else in that family.
Okay, I don't
Maybe
know.
she'd
I
let her
found it
in the
too
kitchen. I
odd.
don't think she'd let her cook.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
she
didn't
doesn't want
necessarily.
mac and cheese and hot dogs.
She's a bit on the controlling side, so I guess you guys would be right. I don't know if I would consider that a. I don't know if she was controlling. If that's a Sarah, is that if that's the right word for it? Because I don't think that's portrayed enough in the film to call it that.
Schedule
But
organization.
she's definitely more on that end. Yeah. I was just giving it as an example, but I don't have an issue with them doing an elaborate dinner on the 22nd.
Gotcha. I think it's also for comedy beat. The car they drive, Lucinda, too much. That it shakes the entire house.
That
Oh,
gets into the over the top nature of the comedy, and I don't think that fits in this either. And it's not just like a visual for the audience, like, oh, it's shaking the house. There's items on the
it
table shaking and
yeah,
stuff.
it
Yeah.
shakes the whole
I
house.
was
Yeah.
envisioning like an off-road RV, kind of huge gas guzzler kind of vehicle, and it's just like a Hummer.
I mean, one of my families has there's 13 kids in a particular family. So they literally have a bus they pull into the garage, and that does shake
Oh,
the house, but it's not as
I think I know
dramatic
what
as what's
family you're
going
talking
on.
about. Yeah, that car's not that loud.
And if it's what I think it is, it's kind of a clown car. It's not that even. It's not even that big.
I'm actually not talking about the family you're thinking about, Springs. I'm talking about one of my
Okay.
cousins.
Oh yeah, not who I'm thinking.
Yeah, I know who you guys thought of immediately. That they're not driving around in a bus. They're driving around in a big van, if I remember correctly. I don't know if that's changed at all. um,
Yeah, but it is a big van.
yeah, but no, and my cousin, they have a lot of kids, and they drive around in a bus, and that bus does shake the house, and it goes and comes and goes. But even then, it's not as dramatic as what's portrayed in the film. So I definitely think that's definitely an over exaggeration on the film's part.
Yeah. Do you guys think they give enough after, I guess, laying the groundwork of Tommy being an Eagle Scout? Do you think they give enough to Tommy for that to come through?
I would say
Well,
yes,
he was
actually.
able to bandage up a leg. He could kind of shoot. What other expertise? I mean, he could lay out a plan, but I don't know if you would ta tailor that to being a scout. But maybe. What other elements do you think
I'm just saying,
shined through
do
from
you
that?
think that line is more justified in the context of what's being shown of Tommy, or do you see it more as an excuse just to explain situations later of him doing something?
I see more writer intent than character intent. Um, I feel like it's something that would have already been brought up through the family and didn't need to be brought up except for the audience to know that that's something. But that's not
Yeah,
necessarily a bad thing, as long as it feels natural as it being brought up. And I guess we can
yeah.
debate whether it felt natural or not.
I think it's okay. I definitely comes
80%.
across as a more of a writer tool than it is a character tool. Um, I do think it's brought up in I do think that part of the conversation is brought up in a natural way, so I don't have any issues with the dialogue delivery around the nature of him being an Eagle Scout. It's obviously the manly man is making fun of him because he, was serving as an Eagle Scout. It's the same way that '70s show always made fun of Donna's dad for being in the National Guard instead of the actual military, or like in the Marines or the
Wow, what a
Army.
reference.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of brought up it's the same kind of dynamic though. They're demeaning what the Eagle Scouts are doing and stuff like that, or like he demeans the Eagle Scouts because it's not like they're not a serious like uh group in his eyes because maybe he served in the military or he's just he has a lot more hands-on experience with hunting, so he looks down on Eagle Scouts because they're trained to do that, but they don't like make a living of it. You know.
Well, he probably sees them as like posers or something.
Yeah, it's exactly what the dynamic comes from. So I'm on that front. I think the dialogue is brought up in a natural way. And then on the aspect of him being an Eagle Scout, I do like that we get to see him patch up a wound. He doesn't like he's cool under pressure. So there's a few things that lead into that. If I wanted to make it, if they wanted to lean into more of it being a bigger character trait for him, I'm not sure what I would have added to make it feel more for it to come up in a more natural way as terms of like the skills he would have.
Yeah, I'm not sure too much presents themselves. I mean, he can memorize the location of a snowplow. He knows how to map it out. Then again, I wouldn't really attribute that to being a scout.
Yeah. So the whole dinner thing, I said 80%. I think it sounds natural, but the conversations are a little over the top, and I think that's played of like the two difference in the, everyone getting together as a family for the holidays and the differences of family members. And I think they play that a little over the top, maybe more for the comedy bit of it, but it does seem overall natural. I guess it kind of goes with the beginning of the Black Friday. Like that's a Black Friday thing, but the slow motion use of showing the exaggeration is over the top kind of thing. So I think it's a little hand in hand with that of like how the film's portraying it. But overall for the Boy Scout, I kind of have it middle ground because Tommy is showing things on screen that an Eagle Scout is able to achieve. But I wish it was brought up a little again, not just for like a reminder to the audience. It's like, oh yeah, you did say that kind of thing, but more of so it's like on the third or fourth thing of him doing something. It's like, how do you know how to do this? And he goes, don't you remember like Eagle Scout or something like that, to explain more so into things, because he's not like tying knots or fashioning harnesses or like something a little more like Eagle Scout, like chiseling wood or something to make a decoy toy or something like that. It seems kind of more common ground things.
Funny enough,
I got
when
my
it comes
bandage wound badge.
Yeah. When it comes up to when you said like it should come up again as a mention, my first instinct would be to stick it into as a kind of dour sense of humor, or like in an attempt to make a joke in a bad situation between Thomas and I keep forgetting his name, but the other dad. Howard, thank you. It's gonna bother me that I didn't write that name down, so I'm gonna write it down now.
Howard and then Howie.
Yeah.
Howard Jr.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call him Howard. But the moment between Thomas and Howard when they're both leaning against the window, like for watch and stuff like that, and they have that brief exchange where Howard thanks him and apologizes to him. One of the things that could come out is like as like a half laugh, half huff. So like like a tired smile kind of way. He's like, adding on like I'll never make fun of the Eagle Scouts again, and because that could be like a little bit of a humor joke that could be dropped there.
Yeah, that could work there. Could do something with like disinfecting and cleaning up the wound on Howard's leg, and like get me some water, and he goes, no, get some alcohol to disinfect it. Kind of thing. It's like camp counselor told me so, or something along those lines.
To add to that would be a good one is Howard asks for alcohol. And then, like to drink, and then Thomas takes it from him and puts it on the wound instead.
Yeah.
That could work.
Yeah. So, those are the couple ideas of how to, I guess, bring up the topic again in a more natural way where I think it would fit. Because I do like this is getting into the next stack. I'll save that.
Rightio. I'll talk about Beth getting isolated from the family to be the first to go. I think it's a fine reason, like to check on her boyfriend who's not responding.
And he's only a couple blocks away.
Only a couple blocks away. It
I'm
is during
also
a horrible
not
storm.
Cast. Well, kind of. I was gonna say it's fine that he wasn't cast, but he kind of actually was cast.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was cast. And it does show the dynamic between the parents of the mom being the more cautious, the dad being more loose, trusting with the kids. So it does achieve stuff. I don't think it's overtly like, oh, come on, really. It is viable.
Yeah. There are a few oh come on really moments later on, but I do think that this first they don't know something's horribly wrong yet. I don't think they have any reason to want to keep her around like desperately, so I think it's fine that she ends up going off on her own to check on her boyfriend.
Yeah, the
I'm
setback being at the dangerous snowstorm. That's
not
the
100%. I'm fine for a reason for her to leave the house. And they're not like, you have to stay here, family for Christmas kind of thing. Like, they're like, okay, yeah, go check is fine. I'm not okay that they're okay sending her by herself. Someone should have gone with her. Because they know at that point that there's no signal, phones aren't working, there's no way to contact her. He lives a couple blocks down. To check on him could be the same thing because he's not contacting her. No power there either. So I feel like sending her on her own is a little too far.
Is she a teenager?
I would guess so.
Looks like it.
Yeah. I'm not 100% on that page. I would think that teenagers would find parents being unnecessarily overbearing if they, one of the parents demanded to go with her. So that would have turned into, I think, some unnecessary drama. But
I'd be fine with it if it was before the power went out. Like, the power was still going and there's just a blizzard, so they're snowed in. And it's like, oh yeah, I'll just call you kind of thing, and they trust that. They'll be like, okay, and then she goes off on her own, and then the power goes out and they can't contact her. I'd be more
feel like the
comfortable with
biggest
that.
factor of it is the distance. Like, it's very small. I don't.
A couple blocks.
Yeah, I don't see that as too much because even if they lose contact, she is like trackable theoretically. Obviously, they don't find her because she's not
But
there
also
anymore.
a blizzard.
Yeah,
I think both instances of the no power and signal and the blizzard are both overweighing more to her going alone. I think if you started with one and while she's gone, one of them occurred, I'd find it far more okay. Whether it's like they have contact with the blizzard as they pitched, or they have no power and the blizzard hasn't started yet.
but if I had a presumed teenager who's made this walk several times before and they seem very confident and it's that short of a distance, I feel like I'd be okay with it. But, I mean, that just
Okay.
comes down to
And that just
parenting
falls
styles.
onto, different parenting styles.
So is this a subjective like you'd prefer it, or you think the movie is objectively flawed due to that?
I'm actually going to tack it a little of objective flawed because this is how Beth gets taken.
Okay. Fair enough. And I realize I said flaw without the context of
Yep,
the damage ladder.
sorry.
Is that what you're
Yeah.
using it for as well, or?
No, flaw's a little too big, but I'd say issue.
Okay.
I'm not as far. I don't think this would be an issue for me. It's probably a nick, I think. Yeah, if anything, I think you talked me into it, Sprinks, a little bit.
See, the
I think
wording
that-
and dialogue of the characters amongst each other, I think, is fine. That's passable. The context of the world and what's happening on screen,
I
to
think
their
that-
knowledge, I think is too much.
I think if they addressed the context of the world a little bit more, it's like, powers, you may not have a signal, but here, take a walkie-talkie, that sort of thing. I think it'd be the fix. Obviously, that changes the dynamic of what goes on because she'd have a walkie-talkie on her.
Yeah, but they could play that in a horror that they can't find her and she's screaming over the walkie-talkie.
Yeah, if they were leaning into an R-rated film, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think it's as big of a issue as you do, but I've been moved into thinking, yeah, they could have. It would have been more onto the parenting characters if they insisted on something.
I'm going to bring up a broad question. I actually don't know you guys' sides on it.
Well, maybe
that's
you'll get a
Aunt
broad
Dorothy.
answer.
Aunt Dorothy. I feel like she's a nothing burger. they built her up as this like a really annoying family member that's always causing problems and trouble, and I feel like they don't establish that. And I part of me is saying put her on the removable character list because like all she does is she ignores the kids and they run to upstairs or attic, and she uses the shotgun. We could have the kids on their own in the living room run off, or have someone else grab the shotgun. I feel like she doesn't add anything to this movie.
What I thought they were going to do with her, because they introduced the dynamic of her not being good with kids and disliking kids, I thought she was going to be the last adult alive and end up giving her life for the kids in some form or fashion. That didn't happen, so I'm kind of in agreement. She's probably the closest I would put onto the removable character list, but we would have to change more than one thing.
I don't see her as a removable character. I think she's an element of added comedy to the film. Not saying from my subjective taste it's good comedy, but I think her being present is for more laughs.
And what about her impact with the story?
And just another member of the family that's slightly different of diversity in the family. Because both sides are like, we didn't want her, but didn't want to leave her alone on Christmas.
Yeah. Goes
to
into like we'd
include
have to
more
change a
family
lot more
member.
than one thing about her for sure.
Yeah. Now it is rude that Linda didn't contact Sarah or Tom, or Tommy saying like, "Hey, Aunt Dorothy's coming with us," ahead of time because they have cell phones that worked at that time, rather than being like, "Surprise, she's here," being a scummy about it.
Yeah, it's
But
rude, but I also see it as her character. Too afraid to tell her sister
yeah,
the
the
news.
comedy of like being very blunt in her expressions and not liking kids, teaching the kids how to make peppermint schnapps, um, having her own little like badass moment with the shotgun. I think there's parts of her that could be like, yeah, moments or like a gasp, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she said that, or jokes kind of thing that could come across to some people in their style of humor.
It just comes down to me of seeing her as a huge waste of potential.
Yeah, I mean that's how I see her. I see a huge waste of potential as well. But I am in agreement with you, Spring says they try to utilize her as part of the dynamic in the family. She's the black sheep of the family, as they say.
Yeah, not necessarily the Scrooge, but just the
She's
difference.
different from everybody else. Yeah.
So I will say though, over the dinner, where she leans over at Sarah and asks if she's a Jew, really sold me on Sarah saying she's a nightmare.
A nightmare. Um, yeah, I mean that was a quick establishing of her with one line.
Yeah, I'm like, that line gets across this character.
Yeah, pretty much. I would agree with that.
However, and this falls onto a good and bad thing. At 14:26, I like the shot of Sarah like flambeing the creme brulee and muttering to herself in the kitchen, and for the camera to turn to reveal that Aunt Dorothy is there behind her, like refilling her drink. I think that was a cool like hidden like character in the shot. I don't understand though that she left the table because of that comment, and now it's cut in time for Aunt Dorothy to be in the kitchen with her, and there's no repercussion situation beforehand of allowing her to be in said kitchen.
Yeah, she just teleports in there. Like I think Sarah would have heard her come in. She would have heard her like.
Yeah, I think that's all. I don't think it's teleportation. I think that's fine
Just the
because it's
complaint,
cut
the
in time. But
time
that,
between the meeting in there.
yeah, that all is removed, which makes it feel weird.
Because if Dorothy went in there wanting to talk after the little spat, then she would have come in and talked. But obviously some time had passed because Sarah was already in there making more food. So there was a period where Dorothy was just sitting out there talking to people.
Dorothy coming in, I just want to refill, and Sarah rolls her eyes, and Aunt Dorothy mutters "bitch" under her breath or something. Like that whole thing is removed out of the film. That context of time.
I'd put that under nitpick because, I mean, she could have just stayed at the table and talked with family, and then once the conversation died down, then she went to talk to Sarah. but it would be nice to have a little bit more backing that.
I think I have a little bit of nitpick as well because from the direct scene prior, she's the reason Sarah left to go get the desserts, but kind of like a more so like impactful suddenness to Sarah getting up. And the next shot for that is those two characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could have chose someone else in the family to be that one in the kitchen. Could have been Linda, could have been Howard, could have been Tommy, could have been, another adult, but they chose Aunt Dorothy off of that. Yet there's no like rekindling between them other than Sarah just saying like, get the hell out of my kitchen kind of thing for her sake. Which means that it's not healed. Because it's still too fresh, especially to the audience's intake of the characters.
Yeah.
So it just feels weird.
I will jump to I really loved the Thomas and Max scene after Max snaps over the whole letter bit. It's very they don't quite say the right things to each other, but I find their conversation to be very, very in depth's not the right word, but I very much love their
Heart to heart.
Heart to heart. It's very in character for both of them, and it still feels meaningful without like it being too dramatic. I guess too one-sided dramatic, because obviously if it went too well, Max wouldn't have ripped up the letter in order to allow the rest of the film to happen. And there is some truth to that sometimes during the holidays you just have to. There are some family members you may not like, but you have to kind of tolerate being around. So it is a relatable issue that a lot of people face, and I think they handle that subject matter really well.
Yeah, I do like Max asking if he believed what he was saying, and his response being, "I wish." I liked that. He wasn't lying to him.
Yeah,
just to make him feel better.
Yeah,
gives more weight to their relationship.
And I guess on that, with the actual dinner part with the letter being revealed, my favorite part about it is everyone's reactions to it. Except Max. I didn't really care for Max. I think his actor kind of overplayed it, but everyone else, I really liked them like actually taking the words in and not just blowing it off. Yeah. And even as what was it? Stu? What was that one kid's name? The one that was reading it. The last kid that got taken.
The last kid? Stevie?
Stevie, that's it. Yeah, even Stevie, while reading it, was somewhat getting a little emotional before just reading the back of it and biting.
Yes.
Not literally.
I think Beth should have intervened.
Like, more directly, you mean?
Yeah. Because Beth's just holding Max back, like, it's just a letter, it's just words, let it go. But up to a point, realizing that it's getting cruel and interrupting the entire family dinner, I think Beth should have taken upon herself, being the older sister to Max, to handle the situation.
I also would have preferred that as well, because it highlights more of their relationship, and we would feel her loss more, and why Max would be the one kind of pushing them to go out and check on her, you know?
Yeah, it does really come across that Max doesn't really care about his sister disappearing.
Well, he does. It's just that because he's the one that pushes them to ultimately go out and look for her. But at that point, he's too worried about other things.
It is brought up far less than the parents. I feel like both the parents talk about Beth more than Max does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't say not care. I don't mean not care as in like 0 ounce of it. I'm just saying it doesn't come across as hard.
You wish there was more of
of a brother-sister dynamic.
Yeah.
Because you certainly don't get it from Howie Jr. and Jordan and Stevie.
Yeah. I do think that they what's it called? I do think that would have strengthened their relationship a little more. Seeing her stand up for him, especially after the first part of the letter being about them reconnecting. I think then, like, once the letter went on into the parents struggling, like wish they could fall in love again or something like that, I think that's when Beth should have probably spoken up.
Yeah. Thinking it over, I think so, yeah.
Because But that being said, I do like that we get shots of like Howard looking at Thomas when that comes up. Like Thomas or Howard looks again. What you said, Crimson. The reactions of the family at the table, I think, are really great.
Yeah, it shows them actually taking it in. How are Act 1 notes looking, fellas?
I think I have a couple.
I've got one.
All right, that Sprinks, you can go next.
Let's see, what did I have here? The music being used for Tommy and Max's little heart-to-heart conversation, I thought was very well done. It's very slow paced until the ripping of the letter, and then the transition to the darker tone from the previous slow, kind-hearted bit of it, I think was a good transition of the same song and beat of music.
That was actually going to be my next point, so I agree. I think that was a good transition with the music, going into the most sinister side, but also still having the Christmas like jingle vibes to it, because there are like bells in the like Krampus music.
Mm-hmm. And I think the bells are important. You know, it helps set the mood. My last point is kind of more of the scene. I really like. It's very ethereal and magical, despite our conversations about what that means. But I like that the sky suddenly gets darker, like out of nowhere, to kind of show the transition of like as she gets further away from her house, and then it just, it just gets almost as if it were like late in the evening out. And then you have the one shot of like Krampus on the rooftop before the chase to the car. And obviously the jumping from rooftop to rooftop is CGI, but I do appreciate the when they're not doing all that movement stuff. I do appreciate that it's a practical costume.
Yeah, I do like that when they implement the practical stuff.
Yeah.
It
That's
something that I don't fully get. Well, this is another broader question. Well, continue with what you're talking about.
Yeah, I do think the scene for Beth dying or disappearing is very tense. Like they get across the point of that she really doesn't have a chance to escape, but I do appreciate the sight of the hooves like pacing around the car, and then Krampus leaving a music box for her as the means of taking her out. I think it's
I think it's the
overall
best kill or best steal taken, kidnapping, whatever it's called, I guess, in the film.
I would trend to agree.
Which really is saddening for the characters you get far more of in Act 3.
The rest
quite
are
a few
just,
of them.
This one's the most
So short and
creative.
quick.
It was also the
I
most
feel like there's only
horrific.
like two. I feel like there's only two that's really focused on. It's this and the chimney one. All the others are so abrupt, and like they
Yeah,
just wanted to get it over with.
Yeah.
stinks.
Yeah, you get the sense that everyone was out across the neighborhood and they were all doing their own thing and then coming back here eventually.
Which that tackles onto the overarching question I was about to pose. And because of how ambiguous it is, we'll probably not have an answer. But why are they the only family left? It kind of talks back to the point we had of, is there any people here anyways, if they're in a pocket world? But what are your guys' stance on that?
We do know a couple neighbors are gone, which
For
I thought was
vacation.
possibly a reference to Chris and the Cranks. Like, they're like, oh, I'll go over and talk to the Turners. The Turners are in Hawaii. Oh, interesting. And then another family's in Florida. Sarah brings up a couple examples.
Yeah. And that was kind of a thing with Home Alone too, right? They were robbing the houses of people on vacations and whatnot.
Yeah. Everyone in
Yeah.
the street was gone for that week.
So I guess because towards your objective scale, are you guys putting it towards Bubble World and there's just nobody else, or is it an issue or problem, whatever, that there's nobody around?
I lean bubble world, so I think it's more okay. But if it's not bubble world and you go with that, either you or anyone listening, or you don't think it's bubble world
General
at
you,
all,
yeah.
then I would lean more onto what you're saying of yes, it's more damaging in that aspect of it. But
Again,
there is
it's
some excuse given.
yeah. In the case of it being a bubble world, it's some excuse given, and if it's the real world, then they just went to all the other houses first. um. Uh.
Well,
And
that's why I go with bubble world. The rest of the world is to scare this one family kind of thing.
yeah.
Like, I don't think the boyfriend's family in his presence was there at all when they went and checked out the house. Sorry to jump to Act 2, but I don't think they were necessarily present to go with the bubble world. It's just the events to look like a nightmarish event occurred there.
Yeah. I think ultimately, I think it doesn't really deviate from what I said when we talked about this earlier. I lean bubble world. It gets nicks and issues and flaws for being how vague it is in that aspect of its world building. But because of that, I don't have an issue that they're the only family around.
So, since it seems you're both leaning bubble, how do you excuse the delivery guy? I guess that's my final point on it, the topic.
Though I said he was transported with them.
Yeah, that could work. He was in there with, or also written in the sense of like explaining the shot scene reference of why Krampus's gifts were outside for them to go outside to even do it. It is weird though to be like Linda answered the door of a house that isn't hers kind of thing, and then for Howard to come and for her to sign it. That was very weird to me because they don't explain they had like, oh yeah, we couldn't fit everything in the car, so we had them delivered here. Like that's never stated. So I found that very weird in the context of that. But I think that's just ultimately to show to get to the gifts outside. Rather, I think it would have been a lot better if they're like, oh, when Max is like, oh, someone built a snowman outside, for them to go outside to find the snowman and then examine it and be like, this is weird, and turn around and see the gifts on the door to bring in. I think that would have worked far better.
And then to get to your
Or if the
point,
bags were in front of the snowman or
yeah,
something.
and to get to your point, Crimson, I'm also in the group that like this is one of the things since I'm leaning Bell World, this is a flaw with that theory. And I think there's something wrong with the delivery driver in any case because the delivery driver would have to show up to their house at the right time to be transported, but they've already lost power. We kind of already have the whole storm sequence kind of implying the teleported, so I do think it's an inconsistency with the bubble world thing. I have an issue either way with, like I said, no matter what I lean, I'm gonna take an issue with the world building aspect because of it. So I don't. Uh, this is just one of those inconsistencies that happen to be with the bubble world, which is what I'm leaning. And like I said, I have issues anyway if it's the real world too. So it's one of those things where the film benefits in being vague, but this is one of those things that just becomes a glaring inconsistency no matter what.
Yes, something to also aid me a little more into the bubble aspect of it, or lean that way, is also the lore of folklore of Krampus. It totally fine in their interpretation of this, but it feels odd that because of Max's wish, everyone in the neighborhood either gets killed or captured, versus just focal pointing on the one kid.
Well, I would extrapolate that to the family then. Why is he taking the whole family and not just Max?
Because they're all related. They're all from Max, and that was Max's big thing. I hate my family, like overall, which was kind of what the grandma's backstory was as well with her parents. So I feel like the family connection to the child. So I
The
find it a little
family
weird
was
that
the
like
one
being
causing the
summoned.
misery. So
Yeah, it finds weird that like an innocent family just celebrating like Christmas is coming, just get visited by Krampus randomly to be slaughtered.
Going with the folklore angle is my limited knowledge on Krampus. I didn't do a lot of research on the folklore. Is he generally just goes after the bad kids. He doesn't
Yeah,
go after bloodlines or anything.
So so in that case, if it's not Bubble World, is it implying that Beth's boyfriend was a naughty kid?
I mean, this goes into how they implement the folklore because I. So you both are established to be leaning Bubble. I am the opposing. I think it's real world. I don't think they do enough for me s- to lean Bubble. So I do find it as a problem with the intent of the word problem, um, that all these people are gone already. That Krampus took them out first, and because we don't get hard rules on Krampus being only after kids. That's real world. That's not movie. Movie has not set that up or said that as a rule. Um, so I think he just got summoned, and all the people around don't have the Christmas spirit. That seems to be the thing that this Krampus is tied to. It's the lack of Christmas spirit. So I can buy her boyfriend doesn't have any Christmas spirit
Given that
if we're
you
going
are
with that.
leaning towards the real world, that is my problem with the real world scenario as well. Uh, is that it's lucky that nobody else is there. Like there would be evidence of
You don't
there
hear
would be
people
evidence of more people
screaming out
around. Yeah,
there,
there would be
people shooting
screaming.
guns, cars veering around.
Yeah, there would be
The
more
outside world doesn't
evidence of
exist.
something having gone terribly wrong, and it would also highlight how, if it is the real world scenario, that then turns in, and this is kind of why I lean the bubble scenario, because it fixes more of the problems present. Because if it is the real world scenario, it's really weird how long Max's family lasts comparatively to everyone else.
Hmm. Exactly. Which is why I think Beth kind of stands out because she got like a prolonged taking. They could have just snatched her. But Krampus is kind of said to be like a
He's a
fun
funny
guy.
guy.
Yeah, likes to toy.
Yeah.
All right. Any other Act One things?
Last thing I have is the Jack in the Box that Beth looks at. Is that the tail of the Jester Jabba?
That is
Hiding under
what
his tail.
I ended up thinking once it was established to be a creature. So that's what I'm going with by the end of it.
Okay. And not just a Jack in the Box on its own.
Yeah.
It could be. I think there's honestly more than one, but I'm leaning that the one in the house is different from this one. Because
Oh.
I don't know if I could buy that this snuck into the house.
That does bring a question I had in my Act 3 notes of are there more than one Jack?
Interesting. I think
But
there's
we can
only
have,
one.
I guess we can have that debate now. The reason I had it in my Act 3 notes opposed to earlier is because of how quickly they're getting snatched at the end. We see, at least with Beth, she's screaming forever. It's not like she just gets silenced. She's getting taken. Uh, in the attic or upstairs, it takes forever to swallow um, that kid.
Jordan.
Yeah. So it is not a quick creature. So
Well, that is
it's
if
hard to
Beth's
believe that it's
screams
snatched
are
up.
swallowing.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. Even comparing it to Jordan, the fact that it snatched up the three adults that quickly is crazy. Just comparing the two,
Yeah. I'm
which is why the question was
leaning one
posed to
because I
myself.
don't understand why at the end of the movie they wouldn't show two.
We also have to remember
Yeah,
that the elves, they kind of fall into the snow and kind of burrow.
Do
So
they?
the elves could be, yeah, when they fall off the car at the end, they fall into, one of them falls onto the snow and just immediately sinks in. I can buy that they can like
Oh,
swim through the snow.
okay. Interesting. When we get to Act 3, I'll bring that up. I saw that completely differently.
Wonderbar.
then Act Two, Beth being taken, which we covered, to Thomas makes the plan, which is after all the kids asking um, Grandma about the story of Krampus. So that is where we're at. I think Spring started Act 1, so Ryder, you can start Act 2.
I'm gonna jump right to the grandma's backstory. I was actually really happy to see some stop motion animation. I think they did a good job with it. It's very simple, but I think I liked the portrayal of that history, and then the switch back to live action using the Krampus bell as a means of transition. I think that was nice.
Transition was okay. Yeah, could have been a little smoother.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely like I feel like they did it on a budget, but I did like the different. Um, I don't know. I just like the animation style. I guess would be so. It's a subjective thing for me.
the backstory animation is quite a surprise to me, as much as like the three brothers in Deathly Hallows. I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting it at all, and I think this is even more jarring than the Deathly Hallows one.
Jarring is in story or jarring is in animation?
Jarring as an implementation. Because I feel like,
Oh, okay.
and I guess that would also go into the style, because I feel like the Deathly Hallows one feels storybooky, so it kind of fits. This does not really match the tone of the story being told. Like this kiddie animation. It's almost like the elves in Series of Unfortunate Events. Except that I
Oh
think fits
yeah,
way better.
that's a weird. That is a meta way of beginning that movie, though.
Yeah. So I think this one's jarring, and I think the style should have not been what they chose.
Would you have preferred if it was more like kind of along the lines of the backstory to Kung Fu Panda 2, but in book form? So like 2D kind of side movement on a book page, and like the pages are turning to explain the story. So there's slight movement in the animation, but it's not like a full 3D rendered look.
I think I'd prefer what they did with Ruby Season 4 with the story of the gods being it's the shadows of a fire, because they focus on the fireplace here. So
isn't that
if you
6?
could see, no, that was 5. No, 4. Sorry, 6
Oh
is
no,
when you actually see the gods.
oh yeah, 6 is when you see the gods. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Okay.
So if we saw like shadow puppet type stuff, not with like hands, but on a fireplace wall look, I think that would be better. And they
Okay.
already show him as a shadow in her flashback, anyways.
Yeah, Narnia fire.
Narnia fire.
Yeah, with at the very beginning with
Mr. Tumnus
Mr.
doing the lullaby.
Tumnus. Yeah.
Man,
I don't know. I was trying to give another example besides Ruby in case our audience has no clue.
Well, I mean, that could be for any reference. I don't
Yeah,
even remember one.
Yeah, I think the Deathly Hollow ones is probably the most apt comparison to make, where it feels. I like the
just an
animation
animation
style.
thrown into a live action movie.
Yeah, it's just an animation thrown into a live action movie, and it is jarring. But again, I tend to enjoy when genres get mixed together, so it's definitely a subjective plus for me on that front. As brief as it is.
Yes, it feels more. I guess it has that little bit of Christmas book feel being animated versus a flashback of like just a younger live action look.
Mm.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty easy question by the end of the movie, but I did write in my notes: are the snowmen dead people?
Is it easy to answer? What's the easy answer?
Well, I kind of went with yes. They're not necessarily the corpses, but they're like the tombstones of those being taken. And I think when they saw like the little kid one that Howard thought was Howie Jr., to be kind of cemented that.
I would have preferred if it had like an article of clothing then or something to show that it's resembling something.
Yeah, it had a scarf and a hat, but I couldn't make out if that was Howie Jr.'s actual like scarf and hat that he was wearing.
I think the implication is they are the tombstones. At least that's how I interpreted it. I didn't think they were the actual bodies because I feel like if, again, maybe if it was the hard R film, they would have had the reveal that one of them pushed over, like one of the snowmen as they're running out, and they would have found a corpse in there. But given that this is a
That would've
PG-13
been
film,
cool.
I'm just gonna go with tombstones.
I kind of want to look back now and check the clothing. 'Cause I like the idea that the snowmen represent a taken person. So
Yeah. The only issue with that is it's even more damage to the real world theory because there should be like 50.
At the beginning, yes, but then towards the end when they go outside, it feels like there's a lot more than what was taken.
Yeah.
within
Again,
the household, yeah.
Yeah.
again.
So I guess the snowman kind of falls both ways then
Yeah,
of being
that's
a
true.
damage somehow.
Very cool concept, but should have been consistent with at least one.
Biggest issue, they needed to define this darn thing.
You know what I kind of want the snowman to be like?
Darn thing is in the movie.
If the snowmen
He
weren't
is.
if the snowmen weren't tombstones, I kind of would want them to act like the weeping angels from Doctor Who.
That'd be cool. A little spooky.
Be interesting.
Horrifying.
I feel like this is just one of those things that production designers do. They're just like, oh yeah, we can do that. Ooh. And to me, it came across as a video. Can you play Dead Space on an iPad?
Yes, you can.
In 2015 is the question. And
Yes,
don't
you can.
know. They didn't really have cloud gaming stuff for that.
All right. Let me see. I mean, okay. I mean, I could play. There was a lot of full games I could play through the App Store at that time. It's been.
I don't feel like Dead Space was one of them.
I can tell the quality is lower, definitely, on screen. But I just looked at it and I went, I feel like that's just kind of a thing that they're like, oh yeah, just find something.
Yeah. Dead Space has been available on iPad since 2011.
Wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
Also,
there's
I
been-
don't know why they picked that for this either.
Yeah,
Kinda
no
like-
idea.
It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with anything.
Scary, creepy monsters in an
Yeah.
isolated place.
Might be, yes. But yeah, no, I don't have much of an issue with that. There's
Snow
been
was the third
full
one.
there's been full AAA games that have been available as apps for a while. Definitely lower quality for sure, as I'm sure we can all attest to with the Apex Legends.
True, but sometimes, yeah, but sometimes you
PUBG.
see a movie where the kids are playing like Halo on screen and they're holding PlayStation controllers, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's a
If
fair
they
thing to
just don't
bring
run a
up.
production thing. So
It's definitely a fair thing to bring up because you're right. I do think they screw that up all the time. Like one of my biggest things with that, right, is an example is is Big Bang Theory. They have Halo nights as they dedicate to it, and they don't have any Halo sound effects that come from the TV when they play because Halo has very distinct sound effects, and they talk about blowing somebody up in half, and that also doesn't happen in Halo
yeah,
physics.
that's not a thing.
Yeah, so you get this impression that like that's an example of like implementing something horribly.
Yeah,
as a reference.
Well, that's
popularity and
even
no
worse because it's a
research.
nerd show. It's
Yeah.
even worse for that.
Exactly, it's
They have
doubly
to be
worse because it's
accurate.
supposed to be a nerd show. Even Modern Family actually has Halo.
Just a detail to spot.
Yep, it's fair. It's a good one to bring up.
The movie that they not the one in the kitchen, but the one on the tablet. I don't know why that's in the movie. Really, not the particular
Is that a
movie,
real
but
movie?
them watching stuff because it doesn't come into play. The relevance of it. There's no.
Just
The
to
battery
keep
just
the-
dies.
Yeah, keep
That's
the children distracted.
Yeah, it's no
Yeah,
Edmund
okay.
Dantes in
Needed
V
it.
for Vendetta. I agree.
Because I wrote, well, that's gonna die, and then a character, I forgot which one, brings up. I think it's Sarah. Sarah brings up the battery's gonna die on that, and she's like, yeah, might as well use it while you have it. Okay, I guess.
It gives the impression that
use that
someone's awake in the
for something.
house, which is why I'm okay with it. But it's one of the things that's helping keep the monsters from intruding.
Crimson, we've been in a situation like that.
Yeah, but we didn't have killer monsters coming after us.
No, but the power went out, and the first thing we did was get like a. I don't think it was battery powered, was it?
We've had
DVD
this
player?
talk before. It was my iPad. It was not my DVD player
Oh, I always think it was your DVD player.
because
Your
I
portable
don't
DVD
own
player.
Jimmy Neutron physically. So I
Oh,
used to
that's
have it
right.
on
We've brought up this
VHS.
story on the podcast before.
Yeah, but yeah. Power outage. I watched Jimmy Neutron and played some card games. Played Guess Who, but our way.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I guess it was too scary to leave that room. I don't feel like it should have been, but Max has like a lot of games in his bedroom for when he and his dad had the little talk. So I feel like Max could have gone up to get that for entertainment.
Scrabble was the top one or something. It was an S
Scrabble was one
game.
of them. I think he had a
Yeah.
Minecraft thing, but they were all kind of like piled up. So
I could have, and that would have been good to show the family doing family things, which is kind of important for what he wanted
that would
out
have
of
been a
it.
good comedy bit. If something happened and made them jump and the Scrabble letters spelled out like a curse word.
That would
Crack
have been
the
funny.
K.
Yeah. Maybe not to the egregious amount like Wanted, where James McAvoy hits Chris Pratt with the keyboard, but
Yeah, that'd be a little over the top.
something like that. Like that could have been an added comedy. I think the fail
Could
of the
have been.
comedy really falls on that all the comedy feels like one type versus giving the variety so someone can find something funny.
I feel like when you're committing to a single type of comedy, you have to
You're
you
either
have
going to
to
like it or not.
you have to be when you're doing that though, you have to like be a comedy movie. You know what I'm saying? So that way, like fuck, what's a good fucking example where a movie has like this one type of comedy most of the time? Probably The Hangover.
Okay,
I
Hanover.
haven't seen it.
Could have gone with Anchorman.
Oh yeah, Anchorman's another good one.
I feel like that one has variety. It's got a lot of visual humor as well as oral.
Okay,
Where'd you get that grenade?
Cheech and Chong.
Kung Pao.
Nah,
Service comedy the
Krampus, a
whole
couple
time.
other.
Yeah. So when you have one type of comedy, it works a little bit better if you are that particular branch of comedy for most of your film. So it's a little, I guess, off here when it's not a full comedy movie. They're just trying to ease the tension of the situation.
And I don't really subscribe to the concept of a movie with comedy should have different kind of comedy because I'm fine with a movie aiming for an audience. I think in a lot of scenarios, a lot of stuff try to get a broad audience, which then if you make it for everybody, then it is not good for anybody type deal. So, as
I
a broad
mean,
statement, obviously you do have good movies that have different forms of comedy, but you also have good movies with single form.
yeah, like 90% of the comedy in like Avengers is just dialogue related comedy. There's not many visual gags that occur because it would so most of that would come under I think one thing of comedy, one branch of
Yes,
it.
but I wouldn't classify Avengers as a comedy movie.
Yeah, it's not. But the comedy obviously just lands more because I think it's better written and better timed. But that would be something that where an example of where the at least compared to this film where it tends to have one branch of comedy, you really have to nail it if you're gonna stick with it.
Nail it,
Yeah.
because there was a nail gun.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's Act 3, right?
yeah, I think that's Act 3.
Okay,
Yes.
can't talk about that. Shoot. I think I have it classified. Might be a problem. I think I have it as a flaw though. But the sounds coming from upstairs, that scares like, oh, there's squirrels. and then a huge, loud bang that rattles the house to still call squirrels, I think is too far.
Yeah. That was bad. I didn't like that.
I mean, I was fine with it because they're trying to comfort the kids.
Yeah, no, the
True, but
excuse is fine, but what do you say after the big bang? You know?
Yeah, what do you do about it? Just let it go?
And I guess, I mean, what would be your explanation? Oh, look, sounds like the tree fell over in the yard. Or
My explanation would be
Santa's
like,
on the roof.
Hun, let's go check it out.
And that's when you die in the movie. You never do that.
It would have just been the attic scene earlier and more contextually smart.
Well, they wanted it split, like all the family split at one point. If they did the attic scene early, then it wouldn't coincide with the kitchen.
Just put something up in the attic for them to visit later.
It just feels like added fluff at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
To me, the added fluff is Linda being in the attic to begin with, rewrapping gifts.
Yeah, the excuse
That made no sense to me.
I mean, the excuse you give about
that
the
was
loud
just to set up the gifts, I guess, but pretty shoehorned in.
Sorry, Ryder, go ahead.
The excuse you give it to about a loud thud is you wouldn't say it's a tree falling over. You say it's a tree branch that fell under the weight of the snow. That's believable.
Whatever said, fine, but still go check it out.
Yeah. You'd have to. I think they could. This is a neat time where they could step outside and come back into the house because not everything outside the house is horribly wrong yet. So they could have actually stepped outside to verify that it was a tree branch or something.
I'm trying to remember. This was before the guys came back, right?
Yeah. So they don't know something's completely wrong yet.
Well, there was a loud, huge bang in your house after noises of something moving around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm just like on the spectrum of people. I think that these people would be too nervous after a blackout and all this other stuff going on.
Maybe.
Obviously, it's not the crazy stuff going on yet. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm fine
in their
waiting
head.
for Howard and Tommy to get back, like rather than Sarah and Linda checking out on themselves. Like wait for, others to arrive, but then
for
bring
the guys
it up.
with guns.
Yeah, because I also saw that as. Why do I call it? So I guess I put that as a flaw. I find it weird that they don't explain that to Tommy and Howard what occurred then, but Tommy doesn't explain that they heard Sarah screaming for proof that Sarah's still out there. Beth. Oh, sorry, Beth. Sorry. To tell Sarah that they heard Beth.
Well, I don't think communication is very good in this family anyways. I mean, you had Linda talk to Howard about like not explaining what happened in the attic. And he's like, well, I just got attacked by cookies. It's very important information what happened in the attic. He should know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should give him examples like, yeah, I'd believe it. Now tell me, So there's definitely some bits like that where, it's getting into Act 3, there's plot armor for both just within the dialogue that they're telling for the characters and plot armor for the fucking monsters too.
Yeah. There's a fair amount of that.
So yeah, they're obfuscating the communication to drag out the drama.
Ooh, big word.
Yeah. Yeah, they're obfuscating. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was saying the right word. And this is, I think, one of those instances where, in your case, Springs, I do think they would have told each other, even if it was off screen. But if they told each other off screen, I would like a line of dialogue referencing the fact that they told it off screen.
Or context following up to investigation, because it's completely ignored. Which even is a little weirder that Linda went to the attic by herself then.
They don't think the house is infiltrated, which is, I think I'm okay with that. But
yes, but there was a loud bang and it's not found.
Yeah, that's what it's inconsistent with. I agree with that.
I guess at that point of time, they didn't have context that there are things out there. And by the time they do get confirmed there's stuff, they just forgot about it, which isn't very good
That's
if
dumb.
we're going with that angle. Because when Linda goes up there, she's not going up there to investigate. She is just looking at the gifts for some reason.
Yeah, she's going up there to rewrap, which is dumb for the setting of where that's taking place. Again, it's like the male guy being outside front so they can get the gifts inside the house. Linda being up there is just so the gifts can be in the attic to draw in Jordan and Stevie, since Aunt Dorothy plugged up the toilet downstairs. It's weak setups.
Weak sauce.
It's weak sauce. And I think I have it as an issue.
Yeah, with all that, I also
have my
am at an issue.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Crimson, I know you probably will feel different. I'm thinking you'll think differently of this than Ryder would. How do you feel about Aunt Dorothy just giving children alcohol?
I think it is within her character, because I don't think she cares about anything. Morality-wise, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't support it. But in terms of what's represented, I'm okay with it being there.
Not gonna ask for my
Is that
opinion,
how
or
you
just making an
expected to
assumption.
Oh, being just like the difference in alcohol consumption and possession, I guess, between the two of you is quite different, so I didn't know how that would come across.
Funny enough, my opinion's exactly the same.
Oh,
It's not.
wow.
It's not something. It's not something
I'm-
I would do. But
I'm the one baffled.
Well, Sprinks, how about you?
I think the explaining how to make it is for her kind of just like, oh, something to do because of the lack of care of kids. I think letting Howie Jr. drink some is element of what I brought up before of Aunt Dorothy's purpose of being put into the film for that comedy bit. I think this is like the, oh my gosh, that actually happened kind of thing for a tonal shift. But I don't like it.
subjectively, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't find Aunt Dorothy funny, kind
Yeah,
of
Aunt
thing. But I
Dorothy's
see that she's put in here to be funny.
Yeah, I don't. I find, like I said, I didn't look at it. I guess Aunt Dorothy just wasn't funny to me, so I never really saw her as comedy. But now that you brought it up, she's probably definitely elements of comedy. Here, I took this as
Because
a.
yeah,
I took this as
if
a.
not, then I'm with Crimson of she can go.
Yeah, I take this as a. She's. It's intended to. She's telling him how to make schnapps for herself, in the sense of like, it's what calms her down as well, and then obviously it turns into a kind of awkwardly sweet moment when she decides to let the kids try the alcohol.
Not exactly. She gives it to Howie, and knowing what Howie's been in this movie, she's gonna drink it all.
Well, I guess it depends. He might.
Is Howie the first, the chimney kid?
Yes.
The one who doesn't speak, who then, at a random point, does make noise.
Now that's peak comedy right there.
This,
I
I
didn't
guess
find that
we'll
funny either.
talk into it here. The snatching of Howie. Everyone's a light sleeper. He's the only one that wakes up. It's a loud chain.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Showing the hook so
Yes.
menacingly. I'm like, this is gonna be great. And then
It
no,
could
just
have
gingerbread
been a
man
movie
wraps it up.
moment.
I'm having to list it as a movie moment because I refuse to believe in that whole room only one person got woken up by that.
Well, I'm more so that the chain wasn't that loud. It's portrayed to come across that loud.
Then what woke Howie up?
Yeah, I was like, it had to have been loud enough to wake him up.
No, I think a noise can wake him up. He's just more of a light sleeper than everyone else, but I don't think it's like a thunderous noise of a chain for one person to wake up from. I think it's coming across being the only noise that it comes to be louder to the audience perspective of the chain.
But why are you separating it from in-universe to audience?
Because I think it's just a metal chain.
They're pretty loud. especially when they're in an echoey chimney.
I don't know.
Or
I saw it more
that's an
so
echo
that it's
chamber.
being played off to be louder than initially the actual sound.
All right, and I guess continuing the disappointment I felt when the gingerbread man just wrapped him up in the chains. Very disappointing. He didn't
I'm
get hooked.
surprised it allowed itself to be taken a bite out of.
It did, but it didn't seem to have any pain. It just looked annoyed, like, God darn you. So I can't really read the gingerbread men as entities, really, though. They're kind of confusing.
I guess they kind of remind me of like gremlins.
Maybe. I haven't
They're
seen
kind
it.
of just like chaotic, having fun with very destructive things.
They're like Cornish pixies, to bring it back to Harry Potter.
Yeah, I guess for
Menaces,
example to note. Yeah,
That's fair. It's a fair
with
example.
no care of their own well-being, pretty much.
How did you want this scene to play out, Crimson?
I wanted Howie to make noise earlier. Like as
Well,
soon
yeah,
as
he
the
did.
gingerbread comes alive, start screaming, not get fully chained up and then start being dragged to scream. Because first I'm like, oh, he's just nonverbal. He's mute. He doesn't make noise. Okay. Nope. No, he can make noise.
Yeah. Definitely, if we're going with the angle we have, he needs to be louder. If I was to rewrite it, writer, I would absolutely use the hook. Um, I might even remove the gingerbread man and, as a living gingerbread man. He can be a good like lure to bring him to
Was
the
the
hook.
gingerbread man more so to scare Sarah?
I think it. Well, yeah, it's to show Sarah that something's real. Uh, it also tells the audience because you see at Derek's house the stabbed gingerbread men, which you at the moment as an audience you don't really know what that is, but now it's established. Oh, that was a living gingerbread man, and Derek had to fight it, or somebody in the house had to fight it, which I
Yeah.
guess establishes that people were there.
Not necessarily. Could be fabrication for the
That's
pocket
a
dimension world.
that's reach for me. I don't see why that would need to be fabricated.
I can see it
So
as a scare
that
tactic.
cements me more on real world. Yeah. All right, Ryder, your takes on the napping, and now I guess the gingerbread man.
Gingerbread men are, yeah, Cornish pixies. Thumbs up. Good example. I think the napping is. I like the concept of it. I do think that it was a little too loud. I think the hook could have stayed there for an amount of time, and I think that would have been enough to wake Howie up. Like what you would do is set up that Howie likes to go to the restroom in some point in the middle of the night, so you can have it so that Krampus was listening in, and then that would reinforce the choice to lower it, because Howie would notice when he gets up to go to the restroom in the middle of the night.
I'll take that. I like that.
That would be my
Shaking
writing
of the
fix.
chain. It's already there when he comes back from the bathroom.
Yeah.
I'd take that.
And then you could have the gingerbread still there as to lure him. And then I don't know how I would nap him per se. Maybe you cut away the second he touches it and we can just assume that he was taken. But not really sure how to avoid the wrapping around the chain smart stuff.
If the movie was allowed to be a little more R-rated, I could fully believe it being like a fish hook and just like a hard yank for it to like go through his shin.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's our hard R movie. I'm drawing blood. Absolutely. It's a hook.
I'm leaning more and more this movie should have been R.
Yeah. I think the parents should have been brutally murdered. And yeah, that's where I'm
Yeah,
at.
screw those
'Cause
dead kids.
showing the kids getting brutally
No,
murdered.
the PG,
might
yeah,
be
the PG-13
harder.
covers too much.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
in
waters it
agreement.
down.
If that's all we have to say for the snatching scene, I'm gonna jump to one of my favorite scenes, which is the exchange between Howie and Thomas as they're as they finish boarding up the house and they're taking in their turns on watch. one, don't know where they
Word.
got all those boards. Two, uh, I do like the conversational dialogue between them. I do think it illustrates, because you get the sense that those two, they're never really on the same page for family gatherings. So you do get a sense that they have some mutual respect now.
Yeah, I like it. I would even have preferred it to be a bit longer before Max walked in on them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was short and sweet, but I would like a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
like
they
I
only
said,
really covered one talking point. I feel like if they talked a bit more on other subjects, like
yeah.
family as a broader topic and not just, oh, you know what, you're more of a man than I thought. I think that would be good to add.
Yeah, I like I said, that's kind of why I brought up the idea of you can have him bring up a kind of joke to help ease the tension in the room, which is like, it'd be more dialogue jokey, but it'd be like, I'll never make fun of the Eagle Scouts again, and they both can share a tired laugh over that.
Yeah. I don't know where they get all that wood.
Yeah,
It's from the tree branch that
not really
obviously fell in the house that we keep talking about.
Ah.
They
Yeah,
have a
I
stockpile in the attic.
I have no fucking clue.
We hit on a little before, but I didn't see it fully in my notes. A weird line I thought was odd was Sarah asking Aunt Dorothy to like look over the kids, and she's like, "Oh, we'll go make peppermint schnapps," as she's sitting in her chair to get up to go to the kitchen to teach them. When she's then in the kitchen, she's like, "Oh, don't rat me out." I found that like an odd thing to write afterwards when she publicly kind of expressed to the whole family what she was doing with the kids.
Oh, she doesn't say that after giving him the drink to try?
I'm guessing that is the context for that line, is like, "Don't rat me out that I'm allowing you to drink this." But the family knows Aunt Dorothy enough that taking kids with alcohol seems already in context for all of them to know. Otherwise, to me, it dumbs every adult in that room.
Yeah, I don't take much issue with this, because as much as I agree with Crimson, I'm not really going to give children alcohol. I think it's in character for her to do that, and that's my personal moral thing. Like I'm uh whatever.
Yeah,
It's just
I'm not on the side of the context of what's being occurring. I'm on the line being used after the previous one.
yeah. I think there's a distinguishment that's still fine there, because there's nothing that
Okay,
indicates
I
that
have it as a
Dorothy would.
nitpick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Uh, a topic I'm curious how it will branch off into is regarding the mom, like the one that the angel, like Sarah's mom, Sarah and Linda's mom. I don't really understand the inclusion of that, I guess, lore for them, because it doesn't go anywhere except this scene.
I think it's a little bit of aid to the character relationship between the two sisters about a passing mom, which kind of makes them distance from one another. Like they don't get to her side of the family kind of thing because of her passing. Um, so it kind of just like strengthens a little that, like, not, especially when Linda's like, "Oh, I didn't know you saved all this," to express the connection of the family already between the two of them. And that also kind of gives it off to me that the mom's more of a recent passing because of that. Otherwise, it's a little odd that Linda, after all this time, didn't know when she's, I'm guessing, been invited to Christmases before, because the dad brings up the context of inviting the family anyhow, or I guess the mom side of the family. So I think it's
Yeah,
just a little
probably
strengthened
weird.
between the two.
No, I would like it if it tied into some sort of character growth during a moment or something. If they reference the mom viewing one of them as something, and then they, like, the mom always saw Linda as a screw up or selfish or something, and that's brought up during that scene. Then later, Linda does something selfless to prove herself against mom, or something to come back to this moment, because as is, it doesn't have any like relevance. Like you said, you get a little character stuff, but you can do that with anything. If it
Yeah,
gets tied to or referenced or grown, that I think warrants its place more.
No, I agree. Definitely could have been strengthened for what they have of it, but still with what is there and the reason for this scene, I think is just for that aid.
Yeah, it's just to try and rekindle one of the lost parts of their relationship. Like for Howard and Thomas, that scene felt a little more natural because there's a lot leading into their scene together on Watch. With here, it's just kind of a little bit out of nowhere. I feel like that there's something that they could have also built up to a little bit more in other earlier scenes.
And I think following when the tree catches fire for Max to extinguish it, there could have been a little more towards it. All they really have is Linda wrapping, but it's not brought up again then
That could have led to
because the
more,
gifts don't have to do with their mom.
Yeah, and it could have led to more also why Linda is distraught enough to go to the attic to rewrap her presents is because maybe she thought that was a precious thing that was lost.
Yeah. I think the main reason for it is to give a tonal shift of the film for more family strength with characters that haven't had a scene yet together.
I think that's the intention. I
Yeah.
think with how it's been implemented, I would remove it. As
Weak
is.
sauce.
As is, I would remove the scene. Because I don't think it delivers enough to exist. But I definitely think it's something they could do if they tried more.
Yeah. Another line I think is too, what's the word? Too escalated, I guess, is when Max goes up to his dad who's surveying outside and asks, I wrote down, when he says, "Hey Dad, are we going to die?" I think that's a little much out of Max. Because at that point, all that's happened is Beth is missing.
Yeah, I think it's clunky. That's would be how I would phrase
It's
it.
before Howie is taken.
Yeah, I do think I do think the dialogue is clunky. I do think there's an element of nervousness that can be displayed, so I would reword it and retool it. But yeah, it's a bit of a jump to get there, which was why the dialogue itself feels clunky.
Well, it's a bit more than just Beth gone. It's Howard's leg
Oh
got
yeah,
gnawed.
and they heard most of the conversation, didn't
father's
they?
clearly trying to hide stuff. So I feel like there is a bit more tacked on to tell how serious of a situation they're in.
Yeah, I forgot that
So
they heard
I'm okay
most of
with
their
it.
conversation, so I think I'm okay with that. They suspect a serial killer is going around at the very least, so I think I'm okay with that dialogue then.
We don't get bears around here.
All right, I still think it's a bit escalated.
Fair enough. How's Act 2 looking?
Act 2 was the one where I couldn't exactly tell in my notes where the cutoff was, so I might have like 2 or 3 more, maybe?
Okay. And Ryder?
I'm currently skimming.
Okay, well, while that's happening, Sprinks, you can go.
Yes, I think the funniest part to me in this movie is Howard telling Tommy, you know, Shepherd protects his flock kind of thing. I'll take first watch. And it's a lined up transitional shot of cutting to Howard sleeping.
And to tack onto that, I really do like how Howard blamed himself for how he's been gone. I fell asleep on watch, feeling guilty.
That's true. It's
I do
contextual.
appreciate that.
That adds to I think the irrationality of his character when he wants to storm out and leave, and they see all the funky
Yes, all the
snowmen, and he
snowmen,
gets
but
dragged aside.
I still have a
the
nitpick
question.
when we get there, though. Actually, is that in this act?
That is in this act, yes.
Oh, okay. Then I'll bring up my nitpick. I find it weird that they're seeing the elves go and hide around, like they're actually seeing that, and Howard isn't shooting.
I suppose so. I'm trying to think if they see the elves or we see the elves.
I think they hear
I think
something, but
I think they see the elves because their heads and eyes are darting around. They're not just looking.
Yeah, they're seeing movement. I don't think they see the elves though. That would be the distinguisher I'd make. I don't think Howard has a clear target to waste ammo on.
I'm iffy, so
I
I'll leave
think
it at gray. But if it if they do see them definitively, I do think he would at least shoot once.
Yeah, I think if they see him like hiding behind the snowmen, it could be a writing situation where they didn't know how to answer it, so they chose not for him to shoot, because what would happen if he shot a snowman? Kind of thing.
It's definitely it's also not the sight he's expecting. He gets pretty shocked, and they're able to drag him back inside pretty quickly. So it's not like he's out there for long enough to really focus on something. But
I feel like he's at the breaking point already by aiming the gun at Tommy.
Yeah, that was quite the jump.
No, I'm fine with that.
So I don't.
We're gonna have another gun conversation.
From there
comes in.
to seeing movement and not firing. It seems like an interesting restraint on him already doing something on his own that he's adamant to do.
Yeah.
I feel like the movement and the scare of the snowman and the elves is what makes him come back inside. He doesn't power through and trudge off.
Yeah, I do think there is. Don't get me wrong. I do think there's some issues with. We're gonna get to the third act. There's a lot of issues I take with plot armor and people's unwillingness to pull the trigger immediately in certain situations. Here, I think it's justified by the shock of what's being displayed. Yeah, because Howard isn't like pulling the trigger unnecessarily, or he hasn't been at this point. So I think
No, but he blames himself for the loss of his son, and he sees an element of his son outside in the front yard.
Is it confirmed that it's his scarf?
That I don't know, but him in his own mind thinks that is a depiction of his son.
Is that clearly defined or an assumption?
Of Howard's character, I couldn't say. I don't know.
Fine.
But he's the one who looks at it and says Howie.
Yeah, I'm fine with him regardless of whether it actually is his son's scarf, I'm fine with him irrationally coming to the conclusion that it's mocking the death of his son. But again, that comes to me as I don't think they present a clear enough target for him to even try shooting.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on that topic before I move on to another one?
I think character damage is too harsh of a thing to say, but I definitely have a nitpick on Howard's character of that event, of that scene.
All right. So something I have is a very short point, and that's how fast the tree catches fire. They can catch quick, but not that quick, and they have to be bone dry to even maybe come close to that.
They've been neglecting it.
Living tree. That is not a fake tree. That's a living tree.
The thing that helps is
that dead tree.
Yeah, the only thing that I can think helps with it is that the presents catch fire, which that would definitely help the tree catch fire quicker.
Yes, but it wouldn't go up that fast.
It still
the only thing that I think would make it go up that fast is like the grandma's big thing is keep the fire hot, keep it going, kind of thing. And the fire is going in that room, so the tree wouldn't be like bristle and cold. So that's what I have. I think if the tree was more cold, it would catch fire a lot faster.
The reason why, like living, I'm doing quotations because it's a cut tree, so it's not really alive anymore. But the inside still, that's what causes trees to take longer to burn, is when they're still wet inside. This was not a bone dry tree. Especially like Christmas trees, they have dead needles. That's when you can tell they're dry.
Yes, that's good point.
All right, and Ryder, did you find more points for this act?
My last point is just a small one. I really appreciate the fact that Thomas. It's a movie-ish moment, but I appreciate the fact that Thomas broke out a map and started drawing on it to create a plan. It's a very visual thing. And I always appreciate the visual aesthetic of someone like coming up with a plan or an idea.
Yes, thank goodness for this movie giving a show, not tell.
Good thing he has a neighborhood map.
Good point. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. That's okay.
That one doesn't bother me too
much.
It's a little convenient, but
You guys don't carry map. You guys don't have maps in your
I,
house
f-
for
I
like the
feel like a
neighborhood
junk drawer would
maps?
have a map.
I
This is
don't think it's a
beyond a
neighbor.
map.
It's not a
Look
neighborhood
how
map.
big
It's
the
a
neighborhood is.
it's a city map.
It's a town
It's
map.
focused.
It's a town map. Yeah, he could pull a part of the town out and just have it be as part of the town. Makes sense to me.
I don't know. With how big the map is just for his area, it seems more specific than that.
I think small convenience, but believable to be found in a junk drawer.
Okay. Well, a bit for me. Bit too much. So I'll have it as a nitpick for me.
It'd be worse if he's like, man, I wish I had a map. You know, my phone's not working, and the mom goes like, oh, hang on, and opens up the drawer and pulls out the map. It's like then it's like actually addressing to it. That's a little.
Yeah. The only thing that you need to change about the scene is you just need to have that a pile of maps that he sorted through to get it. That would be fine.
Or he's like, this is left over from my Eagle Scout days.
Okay, all
Neighborhood
right,
looks a
you're
little different,
stretching.
but this will work.
It's normal for people to have maps in their freaking house. I don't understand this.
I'm more latched on to. It seems to be a neighborhood map. That's what I'm latched onto.
It goes from his house to like a school?
It's
Like, a couple
probably a
blocks, like that
city
was his
map
third
that he.
drawing?
It's probably a city map that he then isolated to his area. That's likely what it is.
That's that's where the camera zoomed in on.
Maybe
Do
I'm
neighborhood
misremembering the
maps
scene.
exist? Is that a thing?
No, that's why I don't like it.
Okay, I think it's a town map.
I'll have to relook at it.
Such a weird
Because
point of contention
as of
for a
right now,
nitpick.
this movie's ruined. Clearly ruined. Actually, my day is ruined now.
this,
so
this is the what broke the camel's back, huh?
170 episodes of the podcast, and this is my last straw. This freaking.
This is your 13th reason.
Please,
Ooh.
please give me
My
comments.
13th reason.
Please. No, that's oof. Please give comments that neighborhood maps exist.
Maybe
Send them into our socials, please.
clubhouse. The neighborhood
Take pictures
clubhouse.
of the maps that you guys have in your house. I know some of you do.
Well, careful. Maybe don't do that.
Make sure to put your address on it too.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Sprinks, do you have one or two left?
Looking over what I have. Yes, that's not English. Looking over what I have left of Act 2, I think we've already covered everything I have left.
All right, then the last one I'll go with for the act is kind of on topic of how jarring the animation was for the flashback. The jarring nature of the gingerbread man, that caught me off guard because that was pretty cartoony. And yeah, I don't know if that's really a good or bad thing, but it was just how I felt. It very caught me off guard because my expectation going into this film, from my memory of the trailer from 10 years ago, was that this was like a horror movie. But the moment the gingerbread was like that, I'm like, oh, this isn't just a horror movie. This is something else, and definitely continued that path from there.
I'd say it's
Kinda
more
like
of a horror
Evil Dead
movie
vibes.
than Monster House.
Yeah, but I do kind of feel it like Evil Dead, where it's horror in parentheses, but it's not scary or anything, and it's not gory. It's got horror elements.
Kids today, sensitized by movies and television.
There's not even jump scares except the very, very end.
There's a little bit of build-up in
I
parts that made me
like-
think a jump scare was going to happen.
I do like the fact that there's no jump scares in this. Jump scares are so overutilized that I
could
was
have had
really
one.
happy that they didn't have any. Yeah, my rule is like if you have one, nail it. Like, Haunting a Hill House. That's the one that got all of us for once.
Yeah, they never get me, but that car ride, wasn't expecting that.
So yeah, my take is like if you're gonna have a jump scare, make it worth it, and don't overuse
The only
it.
reason I brought up jump scare is Spring saying kids desensitized today. I'm like, oh, that's the go-to horror trope today, or not trope,
Yeah,
but
I'd agree
cool.
with that.
The jump scare.
Yeah. just quoting Grinch, but again,
Oh,
things
well,
way back in
flew
the
over
day
my
were
head.
things back in the day were far scarier because there was less of it. Now with more of it, you got to really up the ante of what's scary. And
Best example for the podcast is Changeling.
nope.
That used to be a horrifying film. I know two people
Oh,
that
in
was
that
a
example,
scary film
yes,
for. But
yes.
now it's nothing. That is a nothing burger.
I thought
That's
you
not
meant like
scary.
that movie's scary today, and I'm like, absolutely not. But
I
yes,
would say
back
that
then, yes.
I would definitely say there's some horror elements to it. I enjoy the movie. I would not classify it as a horror by today's standards. But I also am desensitized. I've played Amnesia: The Dark Descent, and I still have not been felt as scared as I did playing that game.
I think the scariest thing we've done on the podcast is Men.
For
Yeah,
different reasons.
for very different reasons. And Men also has a bit of abstract horror to it as well, which is because you can't comprehend what's going on is what helps, I think, add to why that ended up being
True,
one of the
but
scarier
that's
movies.
still scary. Yeah,
I feel like, well, whether something's scary teeters onto the subjective side of things, but I feel like Amityville Horror is more scary than Men.
That's more of a classic. That's what I would call a modern
it depends
horror.
on the design and definition of the horror, on the subjective of the psyche onto the individual, of what past traumas and events and experiences fall into their vein of what scares them and everything. But the way it's written, compiled, and created in the media format of it, wow, I sound like a real prick saying all this. All of that
Especially with the tone.
falls, falls into line of the demonstration outputting onto general audience into what the example of your horror is.
Yeah. And like I say,
Sorry,
for
I caught
comedy,
myself
Body
halfway.
horror of Men.
yeah. So like I
Yeah.
said, like I always say, there is objective elements you could break down about horror, but ultimately the reaction of horror is based on the individual.
That's like
I
a
would.
comedy line.
That's what I fucking said.
You can write bad comedy.
It does exist.
So, yeah, I also in agreement. I think Men probably scared me more, but I would definitely say Amityville Horror is the more in line with the typical horror genre.
Yeah, falls into two different questions. What's the best horror movie we've covered, and what's the scariest movie we've covered? I would not say they have to be in the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. That would be it for Act 2. Act 3 is from where we're at, pretty much to the end. Lots to talk about. Lots of seeds that have been planted.
Let me at him. Let me at him.
I'll
So
give-
I will let
Oh,
Sprinks go
sorry.
first.
Okay. Subjective kudos to the movie. It has a bad ending. Like, it's not all happy. Like, it's an actual Krampus, this is what happens to bad kids kind of thing ending.
Yeah. I was so worried they copped out at the end. I was
I
like,
did.
God
I thought they
damn
Scrooged it.
Yeah, there was like a minute or two where I was miserable. Like, oh man, they really just copped out. That sucks. And then they pull you
and the
right back.
cop-out made me question.
Yeah.
That's where I got the whole bubble thing. I'm like, is this a separate timeline? Was he in a coma for like 48 hours? What happened? But
Okay. Well, that goes into the saved fact that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast.
Well, don't
So
don't
that
hold out on
kind
us.
of answers. I know. That kind of answers the question I was going to ask both of you. So here is the fact. All right, so stick with me. Got a little bit of reading here. Last fact for this coverage. All right. So the movie's ambiguous ending has spawned two fan theories. One, the family is trapped in a snow globe, condemned to repeat Christmas morning for eternity in a twisted version of hell. Or, second predominant theory, they were given a second chance and the snow globe is Krampus's means of watching over them. Although writer Michael Dougherty, once again, can't get names right, has refused to confirm which theory is true, The tie-in comic book Shadow of Saint Nicholas confirms that the happy ending is the true one. The comic has murdered characters resurrected without any hint of a twist, showing that Krampus is willing to give people a second chance as long as they prove they've learned their lesson. Unlike his grandmother, Max was brave enough to confront Krampus and prove he'd learned his lesson, which is why Max had his family return and his grandmother's didn't. Dowtry, the director-writer, says the latter is a cynical, albeit still possible, interpretation. So there you go.
Interesting. I don't think it's either of those two theories.
All right, what's your theory then?
I think the family's all dead, and this is Max stuck in a groundhog time loop in this snow globe. Like, Max is the only real person in that snow globe.
All right. Well, I mean, regardless, you're not in the looking through a snow globe angle.
No. No, all those snow globes at the end, I think, is like all the kids that Krampus takes stuck in their own dimensions of eternal torture somehow, something. But that did make me think that this falls more in line. I don't know the two differences fully of the folklore difference, but it gave me a little more of Gryla or Gryla, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is the Christmas witch, which was depicted in the movie Red 1, who did more torment and capture through snow globes. And I didn't know if that was fully exactly more like something Krampus does.
Did not come up during my fact hunting. Ryder, I guess your thoughts on the ending and the fact posed.
The fact posed by the comic book, cool. I like that. It doesn't really factor in because I don't really take that. I think we've talked about this. I don't really take the external media into account when I'm reviewing a film. Unless it's like outside of obviously like the fun little discussions that it could bring up, which this would follow that. But I don't think it changes what the film conveys.
It's a Twilight thing. That's an after the fact add-in.
Yeah.
Not the start.
And I guess with this, I lean more towards the bad ending. Because if the snow globe was to portray like, I would buy the snow globe visual more of like a way of observing is if we backed out further away from the house. So we zoomed out of the house and then we saw the neighborhood and like we saw the neighborhood full of life and everything. And then we see the snow globe. I would buy the viewing thing more. But the fact it's just the house, I tend to lean more towards being the bad ending. And they're all just trapped there together.
Yeah, the reason I thought this fact was going to be interesting is, Sprinks, you've brought up in several podcasts that you take in external information for your critiques. And
Yes.
if it is confirmed through a comic that's canon, wouldn't that now confirm this as the
Well, as I
sight
just said in my
angle?
example, the Twilight effect. If to judge the first Twilight movie with the world of what Twilight is, going off of the fifth movie, completely different score to that first film. So this is prior of this film without following. And as you said, the director hasn't established a direct canonized theory to go with. There are just theories out there. And this comic book is a tie-in canon to aid into the more of this story, but it's not a pinpointed by the creator's process from the get-go beginning of this entirety of this film.
Okay. And what I'm about to add kind of feels like a recap question, but I feel like it meets the flow of conversation here. Is the you've talked about like deleted scenes delivering added information that would help a movie, and that you
Yes.
take that into account. But that is something that would have been revealed post-movie. So wouldn't that have been separated then, kind of with the example you just provided?
Comic book wasn't made during the events of this movie.
And
That was
the
after
deleted
this
scene
movie.
wasn't released when the movie came out either.
Not released, but the deleted scene was made during the production of this movie being made. When they got to the editing floor, they cut it out. And then when it came to digital media or whatever, then the public eye could see that. But the intent during the creation of the production had that intent in it. It was just decided upon with pacing and editing and whatnot to exclude. The comic book was not written while the movie was being created.
Okay, I see your thought process. I guess to give my thoughts on it, I pretty much feel the same way Ryder does, where it's not in the movie, so I'm not adding it, and I do view it as the bad ending. But an issue I kind of take, well, I don't know if issue, but I view the ending kind of like Little Vampire, where it seems to me like the family wasn't aware of things. It looked like just Max was aware. But then when the bell is shown, then everyone's reacting to it. And you get like narration of past events, like audio clips, and then jumping to the characters reacting. So it feels like they're getting flooded with the past, or the memories, kind of like Little Vampire. The whistle woke them up. I feel like in this, the bell woke them up. And I prefer if that was a bit
Interesting.
more clear, because I
That
feel like
yeah,
that's what happened.
that to me is why I hold that it's only Max. Because everyone stops on a dime when the bell's revealed. And that doesn't flow naturally of like everyone coming together to look at it at the same time and remembering. Everyone kind of just looks at the same time of Max opening when everything else is going on. Everyone, like Howard's looking at the tree, someone's at the fire, the grandma's walking past Max, but when the bell's revealed, everyone hones in on Max. Even Rosie the dog hones in on Max. To me, that feels falsified of these people in this snow globe.
Then I feel like the addition of the audio downplays that. It should have just been like an eerie silence while they all turn to look at him. The audio, I
That could
feel
have
like,
worked.
kind of hints towards the theory I threw out.
Yeah, I think the audio to me was just replaying to Max of past events, knowing that it is real. What occurred to him was something that happened. It was more than just a dream. He essentially got his wish, but his wish is going to be torturous.
And then, Ryder, how do you interpret the scene?
I mean, I've already given my interpretation. I don't know if I have anything else to add.
Well, I guess just for
Like
me
how the
to
family reacts and
understand.
stuff.
Yeah, Ryder, do you think the family's alive all in that snow globe?
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards that because if they were going to uh convey that it's just Max alive, you could have that moment from you could have a Max POV shot with him looking around at the room and having everybody just staring at him. That to me would convey more that they're dead.
That could work. I could also, not necessarily that they're all dead, but I think the snow globe is solely just Max. Everyone else could be alive, but have their own snow globe.
That's true. So yeah, that I don't have to change what I said much for that. But yeah, the idea of it just show that they're all apparitions. They're not real. Just to have that moment where he looks around at all of them, they're all just staring at him, like waiting for their puppet strings to be pulled to interact with him.
A reset on the torment.
All right, Ryder, you can bring up a point.
Sure, I'll bring up one of my favorite shots in the film. It's the shot where Max is looking through the binoculars and sees Krampus, but not that it's a shot around that. It's not that specific shot where he's seeing Krampus through the binoculars. It's the when we have a shot of Max looking through the binoculars behind him. In the blur, you see Omi as he's looking out and seeing Krampus. and I think I really liked that just because it conveyed a lot of, I guess, the history with this particular creature within this family in that shot, which I liked.
I can understand that. The shot has foreground, midground, and background, or foreground off screen, I guess, through the lens of the binoculars, but all that in one shot, but also in a sense of generational change of old lore, grandma, and grandson.
Yeah, it had
So
a
I think a
lot
hold
going
of
on in the
all
shot
those
for me.
layers. Yeah. No, that's a good shot. We've talked about it a little. I quite like the look of the Jester Jabba, and
Yeah,
that it's like a guy in a costume.
again,
Like that's
Yeah,
not
it's not
CGI. That's
one
cool.
CG laden.
one of the
Yeah.
Makes it look
huge
real.
yeah, one of the huge subjective pluses for me in this film is the practical use of all the costuming. Like I've really appreciated the efforts that they went to design all the outside of the gingerbreads because those are obviously like CGI, but
Yeah.
from the crazy owl bat to the Jester Jabba to Krampus himself and all the elves, I really appreciated the level of all the practical effects that they had for the costuming. It was
Yeah.
huge subjective plus for me.
The robot toy, I think, is the only one I didn't give a name to. But the Harpy doll,
I just wrote
and
robot.
then Naughty Bear. That's what I wrote. The bear.
Naughty. Where's our Naughty Bear movie?
Great question. He's
Right
in
after
Dead by
the
Daylight.
Chicken Jockey spinoff.
Um,
Look, stop it.
however, did I not write down a timestamp of it? I guess I didn't write down a timestamp. But when Linda takes, I think, the icicle to stab the bear in the eye, felt very much a brain dead, like gore bit. Like the quick stab, the squish sound effect, the green ooze pop out like it's a still puppet to get the effect of the shot. Felt very much that jokey horror, not necessarily Evil Dead. I go brain dead like with the zombie in the blender kind of thing.
It's an example of this movie, I feel like, just trying to get through everything. I feel like they could have latched on that scene a little bit longer, where it's like spraying on her arm, or it's so short. It's like 1 or 2 seconds of that
Yeah.
grab
Or the
stab.
bear leaning up and screaming and running away or something. Like it's just over.
It's
But the
so
bear's
quick
not
and
dead.
abrupt. Yeah. But I think it's an apt comparison to Brain Dead.
Yeah. I did question, sorry to just keep going. I did question slightly why is there a nail gun in the kitchen? But I think it really helps that all the tools for boarding the windows were set on the kitchen island, and that's where Sarah got the axe to take upstairs. So I think that's explained through context in an earlier shot.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think they do a decent job with like storytelling through the set. Is like Derek's house. You had the chimney that was like ripped through, the hooves, the stabbed gingerbread man. There's a story that you can see happened in that house. And I think what you just established with the nail gun, I think would add on to that.
I agree with all that. Since we brought up Jester Jabba, it reminded me of one of my plot armor moments for the monster is when Linda stands and says a line of dialogue as the thing is getting away with her child inside of it. She just decides to stand there for a second and yell at it, but instead of just running right to it and bringing the axe down.
Well, that and Thomas missing his shots at a pretty short range right there.
Yeah.
I don't think he uses a gun very often.
Probably not, but I feel like the range is it wasn't that far. Even people that don't shoot could probably hit that. And he's an Eagle Scout. He's got to be good at something.
Yeah, but he seemed very loose with the position of holding the revolver, and the kickback on it was probably actually the kickback wasn't really there, which might be my little nick with it.
Well, he brought up
I'm
earlier
sorry they
in
didn't
the
have
first.
John Wick levels of gunplay.
No, but it like a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer kind of thing with the shotgun blast like that had no kickback at all kind of thing. So I don't think the revolver here in his hands of not being a fully experienced gun,
Mhm.
hunter shot, whatever.
It comes down to we don't really know his level of experience. Based off what he said earlier, he at least hasn't held a revolver before because he's like, I didn't expect it to be this heavy.
Yeah.
So it's a little gray, which I think in this case is to his benefit of his experience level. But to me, the distance is the biggest negative for missing.
He's
I feel like
shooting where the target is,
inexperienced
not where the
people.
target's going.
It wasn't
That's what
even
it came
moving
across
yet.
as.
The first shot, it didn't move yet. He
Oh,
missed the first shot and then it scurried off.
no, it's the first shot. I wish I didn't have the time to go back and look. I wish I checked though that 6 shots were fired. I
I
think
wish I
6 shots were
counted his
fired.
shotgun shells.
Yeah, the shotguns at the end were a bit much, but I think only 6 shots of the revolver were fired.
I don't know anything about that shotgun, but I know shotgun's gonna have up to 12 shots in it.
I mean, he fired a lot, but yeah, I didn't go check it.
It
I know
good
there's
though
a
that
website.
after Howard in the gingerbread scene in the kitchen, it does show him reloading the shotgun.
Yeah.
So it could be full or max capacity, but at least that's shown so the shotgun isn't like a crazy amount of shells.
I do appreciate it's a little bit of a setup and payoff, but I actually like the dog joke with the dog eating the last gingerbread man before it gets to Howard. That was a nice little sweet moment. Then I condemn Max for sentencing the dog to death, but
It's okay.
Dog came out
Oh
of
yeah, Rose
nowhere
is dead.
silently. The gingerbread man was on fire.
Good job, Rosie.
That explosion shooting the lantern on the island to burn the gingerbread did not look good.
No, it did not. I do think that is probably the worst CGI in the film. I think.
Yeah.
Saying not good is an understatement. That was just flat out bad.
Yeah.
Okay, flat out bad. It's the layering of the CGI of the gingerbread's movements, but I guess to make it render or look better, they had to blur the explosion in the background for the gingerbread to pop out more. It did not work.
Well, I think it also is bolstered by the point where it doesn't look like what would happen. That looks like an explosion, but
Yeah, it
that
looks like
wouldn't have blown up.
it looks like a movie
Yeah, shotgun
explosion.
shooting a lantern.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that didn't look like a gas powered lantern anyway. That looked like battery operated.
Yeah,
It wasn't an
blew
oil
up.
lamp.
Yeah,
Didn't
I do
look
think
right.
that's the worst bit of the film in terms of its action, anyway.
I will jump to Omi's demise, capture, however you want to put it. It was off screen like everything else in this. The disappointment. They had so much they could have accomplished with this scene, and I don't think they did anything. There was the quite like they looked at each other, acknowledgement. There was nothing. He just opened his sack and she died. Probably.
Yeah,
That's it.
I agree. It was underwhelming. I do like the full reveal of like the practical costume of Krampus, the practical look. That was really cool.
Is it in folklore that Krampus is related to Santa? And that's why they look
some
similar?
iterations.
Some
It
iterations,
depends.
yes, is what I'll say. He is
Okay.
supposed to be the inverse of Santa Claus.
Because this Krampus does look like facially like Santa.
Well, he is wearing a mask.
Yeah. I will say this.
Okay, hang on.
My one thing I didn't like about the practical costume, and again, this isn't Nick anything, just the personal thing. I didn't like the fact that we saw the mask or the face. I would have preferred just the hood with nothing inside. We saw nothing beyond the hood.
The hood and the yellowy goat eyes would have been cool.
Yeah.
Crimson, the mask. Are you saying Krampus in the movie is wearing a mask concealing what he looks like, or are you saying the mask of Krampus is that of a mask?
The character of Krampus has a mask on.
Okay. Feel like I gotta rewatch the movie then.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear when you see the shot of his eyes later when confronting Max, and to add on confirmation for you, it's also stated in the facts that I found that the director said they chose to put a mask on it so that the audience can interpret what the actual face looks like.
Okay, so that helps.
Yeah. But I back to the original point for you, Crimson. I think I agree ultimately that I don't like the. It felt underwhelming. I think the one thing, if I were to add anything to this, because I don't know what I would do, because I'm not sure how I would change the scene, because I think most of it's pretty good. I think the grandmother can do what Max does later in the film, but ultimately give the bell back to Krampus.
Yeah, I mean, something I'm thinking that I would prefer personally is kind of like the DC Death short we watched, where at the end she guides him to the I forgot the quote. Darn it!
Krampus re-met
But
Omi like an old friend, and they left together.
yeah, like if he reached out and she just walked with him to the fireplace, and then we'd cut away from that.
Krampus isn't that kind.
I mean, he's pretty all right.
Nope.
I think so.
No, I would be okay with that, because he can be brutal, but he's gentle and tender in some scenes as well. So I think I would be okay with if they went that route of him after, reaching out and touching, her face. She holds out her hand, he takes it, and then guides her back through to the chimney. I would be okay with that.
I would prefer that opposed to just open a sack of monsters on her and then get attacked off screen. I find that very underwhelming. Or if the sack had her parents' heads in it or something. This sack of toys sucked. It lacked any connection to Omi.
I agree. The sack of toys wasn't the best way to kill Omi off. I would have preferred that he opens the sack and pushes Omi in.
Sure, I'll take that over toys as well. I would still find it lacking in a general sense.
The walking together into the fireplace or death or whatever, I think is a little too much.
It would definitely be a very different tonal thing.
Yeah, it would make Krampus more Grim Reaper-y.
I mean, I feel like it respects her enough to walk up to her, and it clearly recognizes her. So because it doesn't just attack her out the gate. So I can see it. The walk in the fireplace example.
I do like that Omi makes a sacrificial play though, boarding up the door.
Yeah, to buy
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Max's first thing is, well, we could go through the window, and it's Tommy is like, oh, we could go through the window. Max is like, no, this is what she wants. We're gonna let her be. Gotta respect her choice.
Yeah, and I also feel like it was a wasted sacrifice. I don't think she did anything.
No, not really.
It would have
and
been.
I wish that
it would even
Tommy and Max were more emotional.
Even if Krampus didn't say anything, it would have been interesting to have Grandma talk to them to try and buy time. Like Krampus could just tilt its head at something she says to know that it's listening to her. I think that would help factor into the buying time aspect.
Well, she could be like, I feared you for all these years, but I've come to terms or something.
Yeah.
To stall. I can totally see that. Because they don't even get attacked by Krampus anyways. It's the minions. Either Jack
it's
or
off screen.
The elves. So it's all very lacking. Rushed and abrupt.
Yeah. Howard jumping on the, as he calls it, the twisted fairy tale horse shit of the Jabba Jester
Yeah.
to just ride
Also,
off through the window, and
so
Thomas is, oh, great. Like,
yeah. More on the plot armor for the monsters. The Howard, once that thing fell through the ceiling, he would not be in shock or surprised. He would have blown it out. Like, see, this is at this point the shock and surprise part is spent after the gingerbread, especially. I think he would. I don't think he would have stared at it in shock. He would have just fucking shot it.
yeah. How
He
did
didn't.
Aunt
He would
Dorothy
not
get
need to
the
be
gun again?
prompted. What?
She picked the gun off the floor.
Yeah,
'Cause
he was
town
holding the gun
tried
at the
to
start of it. He needed to be
the aim.
prompted and yelled at, say, "Shoot it, Howard." He would not need
Yeah,
prompting
and then the
at that
harpy
point in the
attacked.
film.
That was it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's plot armor for the monster because he would not have needed to get prompted to shoot the monster at that point. He had already dealt with monsters in the house, and he's already also seen all the weird shit taking place outside. His shock factor is gone. So it's a plot armor for the monster, and I think it's a little bit out of character for Howard to hesitate at this point.
I agree.
Yeah. Though it does give Aunt Dorothy a cool, I guess, badass moment taking out the bear and the harpy.
She's a. Do you think she was an Eagle Scout? She's a Deadeye.
I don't know. She was,
She was certainly accurate.
what was it called? Not aiming down sights, but
Hip fire.
hip firing. She was hip firing it.
Mm,
That's the word. The harpy sticking through the wreath, though, that's supposed to be a funny bit. I take it.
What do you mean? That's
Like how it hits through the wreath, so it's centered like a bullseye and sticks to the wall before falling.
Okay. I mean, the bear kind of did the same thing of sticking to the wall, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't know, feels like the comical aspect. And then she gets chained up.
Willingly, might I add. She does not really fight it.
No.
She just lets it happen.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of how rushed this act is. I mean, even the elves, like, it's like, all right, it's elf time. Let's barge in the house. Like,
Yeah, and
where
then we're
were
all
you
gonna
guys?
leave you alive anyway. I guess. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I was thinking, did they have a snowman quota to make? Because I think the elves are what are making the snowman. But why did they have to wait for a certain time?
I don't know, but I don't like it. I am even putting it at a flaw that the elves aren't around the whole movie to attack them when seemingly they could, really.
Yeah. Oh, was it actually? Yes, it was this act, I think. Yeah.
Well, at the end, so.
Yeah, in the attic when they're being attacked by the toys, I think it was a cool rendition of Carol of the Bells as a song being played.
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit more louder present. I feel like it kind of gets lost with all the commotion, the sound effects.
Yes, but not. You want to keep that horror aspect. I think if the music went louder to the attacks or anything, it could play off a little more of like an action movie.
It is a balancing act. I do feel like it kind of gets a little lost.
Yeah.
But I do like the rendition.
I have two back-to-back, I guess nitpicks, could be more depending on you guys. First one being when they leave the house and the power flickers on and
Yeah.
the radio turns on to play a song. The song's not flickering, and by the time the song finishes, being that it's played on the radio, a new song doesn't start.
Yeah, they couldn't get a license for another song.
True, but that's
Christopher
not how the
Nolan,
radio
not that
works.
much. No, I agree. I'm messing with you.
Yeah.
Certainly
My
a nitpick.
second nitpick is the flashlight on the shotgun throughout the entirety of the house with it being present is like a white light. As soon as they go outside with it, it turns green.
It was shown to be green in the earlier stuff too. So I think they just did that to
so it's
make
just
contrast.
incongruent throughout the movie.
Yeah, so it's not just here. They did that earlier too when they were. It was just him and Thomas out there, or Howard and Thomas.
Okay. Oh, so outside it's green, and
Yeah,
inside it's white.
yeah. I think they did that because it's just reflecting off the contrast differently. But yeah, they definitely had different flashlights to help distinguish, I guess, the lighting in each scene. But yes, it is incongruent for most of the film.
All right, or do you have something to pitch?
Yeah, sure. Some more plot armor. Again, just our characters needing to be prompted to do something. When Thomas says finish it, and Dorothy taking the moment to say with pleasure, takes aim, and then is interrupted. When she could have just fired, and that would have been it.
Yeah, no disagreement. I feel like it's completely stacked with plot armor, with everybody and everything.
Yeah, I definitely think the third act is probably the weakest because there's a lot of like subtle, cool things that do happen in the first half of the first two acts. A lot of character stuff too. Not really much of it comes into play other than the adults give their lives to try and save the children, which I'm fine with. It makes sense, but not really a lot of character moments that happen.
No, that's why I feel the lackluster of everyone's like the adult deaths sucked.
Yeah, like if
like
Dorothy
Tommy feels like one of the main guys, and he just falls in the snow.
Yeah, like if Dorothy was the last adult alive and was the last one to give her life for the kids, like that would be a payoff to what they set up her character to be in the first two acts. Tommy giving his life to, maybe help grandmother, his grandma face down the monster. I can see that. There are other ways to make things more valid to what we have of the characters. It definitely does add to, I guess, some of the lackluster feeling here at the end. As much as I do love all the practical monsters and costuming.
I would have liked if they wanted Tommy to die this way. Is when he ran out of ammo, he would run back towards the house to drag the monster away. He just stood there.
Yeah, and accepted it.
He stood there and looked up. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he looked up. I think he closed his eyes. Right?
I mean, whatever
okay.
was accepting his death.
I thought he lifted his chin. And I'm like, oh, he's just giving up.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He should have ran back home. Like, hey, come after me. And then he gets swallowed underground, I guess. But
yeah,
this I think was the worst case scenario.
I agree. I do wish Tommy ran somewhere else. Thomas ran somewhere else. It's not Tommy Lee Jones, guys.
Oops.
No, that would have been a differently tonal movie.
Yeah, I do wish he ran somewhere else to get away. To distract the monster away.
Yeah.
So he's mirroring his grandmother's death and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's not like he's cowardly running away. He's actively drawing the monster away. I think that would be better than just, I'm going to stand here and die now.
Especially since the focal point's kind of on Max here, and this is both his parents dying, which I saw as the connection to the grandma. Of now, this is like Max getting that same thing she had of his parents dying, but
again,
it's lackluster.
Again, I would really like to see Max's reactions at the very least. Dead sister sees his father die, and then when his mom leaves him, it just hits all the more. Just again, not really left to wallow in what happened.
No, what we get is a driving stick joke.
They have, I think, too many characters. I think that's the problem here. They had the baby. We haven't talked about the baby the entire movie. The baby just gets taken away.
Baby's a removable character. No. There we go.
Nobody cares about the baby. You had the aunt just get yanked out the window. You had oh my gosh, just had his name.
Howard.
Howard just jumps. He's like, all right, I'm going to die. I'm going to leave the movie now. And then three parents get yanked into the snow at the end immediately. It's just so bang, 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 bang. No impact.
No creative kills. Again, rated R film. I think they would have had some creative kills, but
that's what it could benefit from. I was gonna joke. Even the characters in the movie forget the baby's there. That's the introduction to the baby.
Yeah.
They left it
Oh,
in the
that's not
car.
the intro. Oh yeah. The intro was them like.
Yeah. Didn't you have another kid? Oh, that's right. We left him in the car. But I think the baby. I see the baby leans more removable character, but I think the baby is there for those of like a horror movie and a baby is present, like the innocence, and then the shots of like the baby crying when things are going wrong, like that's like a, I don't know, a maternal or a just like a human connection to innocence kind of thing. I think that's the build of it to make it a little more of in those scenes. So I definitely see the baby as a tool more than a character.
I think it's 100% removable, whatever we want to classify it as.
Yeah, it's not a character, so we can't really play the removing game with it. But I do think it's a tool.
Its existence doesn't affect any character's actions. It carries no weight to anything.
Yeah.
And the only fact
it gives Dorothy something to hold for most of the film. That's what it does.
I mean, yeah, that's it. The only fact I had was they during editing had to heavily reduce the amount of crying that the baby had in the film because the higher up execs were like, cut out the crying baby. It's too much.
I'm happy they did, I guess.
Yeah.
To get back to one of your points, Sprinks, about Max's lack of reaction, mind you, there is definitely a place where you can combine tones and have him crack a driving a stick joke while he's like blubbering with tears and sobbing. You can do those things at once. It's very hard to do that. But I would have preferred like Stevie or whatever her name is, their name is, yelling at him and him just like crying his eyes out because he's trying to get the car going, but he's also trying to deal with all the trauma. I think that would work way better.
Yeah. No, I agree. You need more tonal pacing.
I did like the joke of Jordan and Stevie. It's kind of like a longer running joke because during the letter reading at the table, Max wrote that Howard wanted sons, and Steve's like, no, he didn't. But they got boy names, standard boy names, I'll say. I mean, Jordan is unisex, but it's just tacked on. With that logic, anything's unisex. Come on.
To each their own, I guess.
I've
never heard. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
I do like Krampus delivering the bell wrapped up in the letter. In the crumpled letter that to Max.
Oh, yes, that Krampus gives to Max as the send off. Yeah.
Yes.
Really drives home that it's Max's fault.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious if Krampus gave Omi the burnt Santa doll with the bell inside.
Maybe.
I'm trying to remember in the flashback. It wasn't just like on the
No,
ground?
it was just the bell.
It was just it was just there.
I do.
But then again, that could go into the animation, depiction.
Yeah.
Of a retelling of a story. So possibility.
Ryder, you want to take us somewhere?
Sure. I'll take us somewhere again. I find it funny that Krampus and all his like cronies are all just celebrating all together. Like, oh man, we got summoned here. We're having a great time. They're just like throwing like a little creepy like party out in the woods. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I like the visual of all the elves and the sleigh and the quote unquote reindeer, I guess.
Yeah, they're all dancing
Nice.
around it and enjoying their
Cool
time out
depiction.
away from their world. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's just a small thing. It just like, when I like that next to all the practical costumes, you can still pick Krampus out of the crowd because he's huge. He's huge, and they do a good job with the costume as well. It looks very distinguishable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very unique. And I guess to tack on an earlier point, writer said I didn't say my piece on was the seeing the mask. I was worried the whole movie to see what his face would look like. I was hoping they never would. I say face because they use a mask, but I actually like how the mask looks. I think it's cool. I don't think it's attracted too much, and the fact that you don't actually see his face, I think was
I'm
a
glad
good
we
choice.
only see his eyes. I'm happy we didn't see his face.
Yes, one of the scariest things is the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I
Parker,
like
you were gonna say something?
as I brought up the Carol the Bells rendition they did for the attic fight. I like the rendition they have of Silent Night for when the parents are dying off. Because I think it's probably the best thing about the parents dying off was the Silent Night use.
I agree.
And Ryder, we touched on it earlier about seeing the scene differently. When the elves are attacking the snowplow and one takes out Stevie and the other one's trying to get Max out, and Max pushes the elf onto its back in the snow. I saw that as the elf got taken by the Jester Jabba or whatever was in the snow, thinking that it was taking Max in that situation. I didn't see it as the elf itself choosing to go underground or under the snow.
Okay, that's interesting. Also, completely viable interpretation.
Ryder, I don't think you answered. Sprinks, you did, but multiple jacks, yay or nay? Sprinks thinks there's one. Right? I don't think I heard you say that.
I'm leaning towards more than one because it doesn't make sense for the jack outside to be the jack that's indoors. Like, I don't know how it would be able to sneak indoors, personally. And it would also explain why parents can get whipped off so quickly when we see how long it takes a jack to eat someone. Or, sorry, a Java jack or whatever.
Same thing. Yeah, we know what you're talking about. The worm. I lean one because even if they only have the equipment for one, like they only have one outfit made, they could have still had multiple shot angles around that fire scene at the end to demonstrate that there are two present or more.
They certainly could have. I wish they did. I think with how fast the parents got yoinked, I'm leaning towards multiple of them.
Okay. I also wrote in my notes not knowing what was pulling Krampus's sleigh. They kind of look like banthas to me.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I do. I find that funny because I thought the same thing. I think Krampus is a walking bantha in certain shots.
I think Krampus is like the god of Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely looks like they would be.
The banthas are the things Tusken Raiders ride in Tatooine, Crimson.
Oh, the giant woolly cows.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
curled horns. They kind of look like that.
Yeah. Krampus' horns remind me of them.
I found it goofy that I guess a hole to the underworld that got opened up. There was just a random candy cane that fell in, like a yard decoration.
Yeah.
Krampus still likes eating candy canes. You know, he's not against Christmas. He's just a different
that's
aspect.
fine, but this isn't like someone's front lawn kind of thing. Like it just came out of nowhere, or it's just buried in the snow for some reason. It just seemed a little random.
I don't know the origin of it. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell where the sleigh is. I mean, I would imagine it's still in the neighborhood. It wasn't that far of a run.
Yeah, I think it's like in the middle of the street to explain why it's so open. And there's no like house on the sides or behind. So it doesn't come across as like a front lawn.
pretty hard to say because the snowy blizzard around him really limits the depth. You can't really see too much.
Yeah, but that's my best guess.
How are your notes looking?
I'm pretty thin. I kind of bulldozed through most of my plot armor stuff because that was really the big thing that was sticking out for me in this act, with some nicks to characters that were a little out of character, I guess.
Only got one left.
Okay. Ryder.
All right. Let me. I quite liked the kind of the hell pit. I liked the moment between like Krampus and Max. Like Krampus could be perceived as playing with him. I'm sure he was to a certain degree. But I do like that he's almost confused that Max is throwing the bell back at him.
He's like, "Oh, you're crying an actual tear. You really care.
Yeah,
How sweet." Ha 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 ha. That's him.
pretty much.
Never had a kid throw their bell back before.
It's kind of what it comes across to me as, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent scene, and I felt the same thing you guys did with what you guys said earlier of like, oh, please don't 180 him, don't redeem this.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
was
thank
getting those
goodness.
feelings.
Yeah, it was
Do not
so.
redeem Krampus.
It's like, yeah.
But then again, I would have cheered if Santa came in and to like beat Krampus's ass, like a fisticuffs kind of thing. That would be sick.
That would be interesting.
That would
I feel
be.
like this movie could have done that.
If there was ever a sequel or a trilogy, I definitely would want Santa to make an appearance in the last one to kind of.
I want a crossover of Krampus and Violent Night.
You know what? 100% I would support that. I would love to see Santa Claus.
David Harbour.
David Harbour Santa Claus
wrecking this
throwing
thing.
just with a giant hammer just coming down on it. Absolutely.
I'd be game for that. I do have to ask the question that does occasionally come up on our like winter seasons, and that's, is Santa real in this world? I'm kind of leaning, since
I don't know.
Krampus is confirmed and he's like Santa's shadow, that it kind of confirms Santa is a thing.
Yeah. The benefit of this is that yeah, the benefit of this is that, again, the family avoid talking about Santa Claus being real, so it's not, again, this film dodges the issue that pervades a lot of other Christmas movies, is that if Santa Claus is real, that would definitely be an obvious fact to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Well, they do say Santa's fake, though. At least the kids do.
The kids do. I lean middle ground. Don't know. Not enough information to tell.
And what are you leaning, Ryder? Are you middle grounding it too?
I mean, the film avoids a lot of its world building problems, but I'm also middle grounding it. I don't have enough information.
Okay. I'm leaning that there is a Santa in this because Krampus is real and was established to be the shadow of Santa. So it'd be weird to have only half the story be true.
I suppose it's fair.
I guess possibly, but then that goes off of the stronger magic or belief of the folklore onto Krampus actually being a thing, and Santa's the story for like the good. So it's
I
just
mean,
like
yeah, they could have a
connected
deal with each
folklore,
other or
but-
something.
Well, I just mean like Santa could be fake in this world, and the connection to Krampus of Krampus's lore is to, I mean, could date all the way back to actually Saint Nicholas kind of thing if they wanted to do that, and that's where it originated from. but not necessarily like
Possible.
jolly old Kris Kringle kind of thing.
It would kind of.
For all we know, they could have made Saint Nicholas in this movie a Satanist, and he like summoned Krampus using his own blood magic or something, and that's why he like is the shadow of Saint Nick. Like that would be something. That could be something.
It would be an interesting, I think, film to have a Santa Krampus combo where they make deals with each other. All right, you can have this kid, Krampus, because of X, Y, and Z, but
Naughty list.
I get
Krampus,
everybody else.
Krampus runs the naughty list. It's easy.
I feel like there's a movie like that.
If there
Shoot.
is, it's not one I've seen. But I mean, lots of Christmas movies out there.
Yeah, this isn't the only Krampus movie
Correct.
or movie with Krampus. That's a better way of putting it. So
All right, and
Well-
Spring, you said you had one more.
yeah, the last one I have. You said the explosion with the gingerbread was just flat out bad. Yeah, this one's I guess a better than that. So I guess in that vein, this just looks bad. Max falling into the underworld.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what it is with movies, but so many do the falling death so bad. I don't know why.
It kind of looked like a reverse shot. Like rather than Max falling, like his back, it feels like it was shot where Max falls forward, like at the camera, and they reversed it.
I didn't.
I don't know. It kind of
pick
felt
up
like
on
that.
Maybe. I think one of the core issues why it doesn't look good is the lighting around him. He doesn't have like a red glow around him, like he's in
Yeah,
a
and the
lit
fire's just
tunnel.
smoke, just red smoke.
Doesn't
So-
look very good. And to bring it up to a movie we've covered, National Treasure, when Sean fell, that looked way better than this.
That's a good fall. Going through all the stairs,
a good
that's
fall.
a good fall. That had weight
And then
to
there's
it.
this.
That has
yeah,
impact. That has lighting with the flashlights. Maybe it was the subway.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys just said.
All right. And did any more leach out, Ryder? Or are you done?
I am done. I guess not. My last small one would be just the jump scare was so unnecessary.
It was quite lazy. Very, very lazy, actually.
And there you go.
I
Yeah,
don't
I'm done.
Get it out. I guess, am I out? Yeah, I guess on the final scene with all the snow globes. Cool visual. It's still kind of in the gray of what it really represents. It's interpretive.
I'm not
but-
fully sure if that's Krampus lore.
I haven't heard, from my limited knowledge, any real like connections with snow globes and Krampus, but I didn't deep dive. But I liked the visuals, cool, and it was established he's been doing it for thousands of years. So the question I had in my notes regarding the snow globes is, is this immortality? Are these people living forever now? And I would have liked to have seen old houses, like maybe like a caveman cave or something, if he's been around forever.
Kinda, yeah. That just falls into what adaptational vein of Krampus they go with. Because some are like he eats the bad kids, some he transforms the kids into his elves. This one's kind of the snow globe, which comes across a little like the Gryla. I believe it's I don't know how it's pronounced, but the Christmas witch kind of
Grayla.
thing.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Or the aliens and Men in Black with their marbles.
I've never heard of that with Krampus, but maybe.
All right, well, since we are all done with that, it is time for our summaries and ratings, starting with Ryder.
I'll do my subjective first, as I tend to do usually. I think I touched on it. This film is not what I expected in terms of a quote-unquote horror genre movie. I do think there's some tonal issues that kind of threw me out a couple times. The biggest subjective plus for me here was surprisingly the I got a lot of nice character moments that I really liked, so I felt invested in certain stories. Um, don't think that was consistent throughout the film again. Um, but again, big plus for me here is the practical stuff. I thought all the monsters looked really, really cool. Um, and that is a huge plus for me whenever it comes to something in the horror genre. Uh, I'm not gonna like run to theaters to watch the 10-year anniversary of this film, or gonna run around and watch this repeatedly. But solid 6. I enjoyed myself. I had fun with this. Um, Objectively, uh, uh, world building, lots of questions. Kind of touched on whether the reality that they're in is different compared to the real world. I think there's problems either way you go. I think there are less problems if you lean in that they're in a kind of their own world for the duration of this. And but still there are problems present nonetheless, being the delivery driver, the timing and coincidence of the delivery driver. It's obviously there to help introduce the future problem that will be in the house, which is the presence, but it's still a problem they can't really get around, because I don't know if the delivery driver was yanked into their reality or not, at what point their reality was overtaken, because the delivery driver would have had to have been close with the storm brewing over them if that's supposed to be the portal. Problem is presented in either case. Um, that being said, the monsters are really cool. I do like the Krampus magic in the sense of uh, bringing toys to life in a monstrous way. I do uh, like the characters and how they interact with the world. They're not 100% stupid 100% of the time. That there's definitely a lot of fucking plot armor. Um, they don't break their characters, but I would definitely say there is times where there's nicks and issues that crop up with their characters that do pile up. Um, the plot is otherwise a house siege, mostly. Once you get all the build up of what's going on, that they're slowly just kind of being cornered into their house and getting picked off. Um, and I don't know if there's anything wrong with that plot outside of the plot armor. And I think there is an argument for. I think there's an argument for the plot in terms of where like the characters they find reasons to go separate ways, and so it's not just arbitrary why they separate to go and search places. And that's one of the things that is always an overused trope in horror films, but I think they justify when the characters split up for their separate actions. Like everyone goes up to the attic except for Howard, who stays downstairs, but he hears a noise in the kitchen. So characters splitting up in this makes sense. It's not contrived, which is a rare thing in terms of horror film. Um, I think that's like for plot. I kind of already went over characters. I think Beth's death is probably the most creative, which is a shame. I think that's where a lot of the rating for this film suffers, and that's probably why my subjective isn't higher than a 6, because this is kind of the movies I would normally go in for. But the deaths aren't really creative outside of Beth's. They're just getting picked off, getting sucked into snow, and getting trapped in a snow globe at the end. I did appreciate the I'm mixing now. Damn it. Okay, back to objective. This is a mess. All right. Did world building, did plot, characters. I think Max is fine. I think the biggest issue with his character is that he doesn't really react to this around him. I think that lack of reaction is a product of the film's plot moving along too quickly. I do think uh, a lot of the character stuff is rushed. The moment between Howard and Thomas could have been a little bit longer before Max interrupts it. I think the tone with how that the characters interact with the plot isn't the best. I think Dorothy's jokes don't really land, even though I recognize that they're comedy. I feel like the timing for jokes it needs to be better incorporated into something more character motivated. Have more situational humor, just humor in the moment. That's why I always went back to the example of Howard making the comment of uh, the Eagle Scout joke. I'll never make fun of Eagle Scouts again, but he can say that with like a tired laugh, and so it still comes off as a joke, as a sense of humor, but it's very much a in the moment kind of humor. I think more of that would have benefited the film rather than like having a character that we're supposed to really dislike. Um, I feel a lot of the deaths aren't really important to the characters, and they're underwhelming. Um, I've had a wide range that I was bouncing between for this one, at between 4 and a 7. Um, objectively, and 7 being like I do recognize this is there's a lot of technical things here that are well done. The characters have a lot of good scenes together, but they aren't really meshed well together. And then the 4 being the bottom end of that, more nicks to the characters that are piling up and more nicks to everything and really focusing in on that mesh. I think I'm at a 4.5 objectively. I think it still is in the range of my average, but it definitely has a lot more issues than it does benefits, more questions than it does benefits. I think the characters walk away with more nicks than one would like. And I, yeah, for this we're rambling on. Yeah, objective 4.5.
Alrighty.
Darn, that
I
was
will go.
close.
Hmm.
That was close. If Ryder, you gave that a 7 objective, that probably would have been my most surprised rating of the season.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think that's where I was sitting after my first watch of it when I
Yeah, a
finished
7
it.
and a 6. I would have been like, yeah, that's wow.
Yeah, I was bouncing between a 7 and a 6. I think the first like 10 minutes I was done with the movie, but obviously as I was reading my notes and processing what I had seen, I think that slowly went lower.
Okay, yeah, 4.56. Understood.
I will go next. I will start with my subjective. As I talked about, I had an expectation going into this due to the trailer I saw a decade ago, thinking it was going to be a pretty much a full-on horror film. I was surprised that it was not. There's a lot of like quirky comedy with the horror, and I didn't really find anything particularly funny in this either. Uh, I didn't find myself that engaged with the characters. I did like uh, Tommy's and Howard's like connections. They were probably my favorite dynamic in the film. I did like how the creatures looked, like Ryder stated. But beyond that, there's not that much for me in this. I'm at a 5. It's fine. It's something I'm fine seeing again, but it's not something I'm going to look forward to watching, and I'm not going to seek it out. No one comes to mind that I need to show this to, so it's probably a one and done. Objectively, on the scale I'm providing here, I'm going with the angle that it is a real world scenario, not a bubble world, pocket dimension, however you want to phrase it. So that will be reflecting in my total. I think the fact that nobody's around is an issue. I think that the fact that if there were people that they got dispatched so quickly, yet this house lasted pretty much all night, isn't great. I think the presence of Derek, I think it was Derek, his name, at Derek's house, the chimney, the gingerbread man that got fought, the postman at the truck. I think these are all elements of presence of people being there. So I don't think they poofed away in a pocket world. I think they were alive there. The presence of the postman is peculiar, and the absence of the driver for the plow, I don't understand. Because from everything I can tell, Krampus and his goons take people, but left the postman. So that's incongruent. I think the practical effects are very solid. I think the music is good. The visual direction, I think, is good. Just how the movie looks, I like. The CGI for the most part is decent, but there are some highlighted issues. I think the gingerbread men don't look great. The lantern blowing up doesn't look good. The pit doesn't look good. The clouds doesn't look good. So, fair amount of negatives with that. I think the characters are mostly in line with themselves. I think what Ryder and Sprinks have both said about Max's reactions aren't great. I think one of the biggest detriments to the film is its pacing of how it handled dispatching everybody. I mean, the aunt, the grandma, the baby, and the three parents. That's like what, 8 people were all dealt with within minutes, with nothing exciting. And very underwhelming, lackluster. I agree with both of you saying an R rating would have probably helped this film. I know they are limited on is the Krampus killing people or taking them. I think he's just taking them, but it's just very lackluster going at that angle. And the snow globe at the end, I'm fine with it being ambiguous of an ending. Is he watching? Did he give a second chance? Are they trapped forever? Is it just Max in one snow globe? Everybody else has their own snow globes. I think it all fits, so I'm okay with that. So, all that into account, I am unfortunately matching my subjective and giving it a 5. Some not so good, some good. It's mixed. Sprinks, you're up.
Oh boy, real middle of the movie for you, huh? Interesting. Let me start with my. Let's start with my objective. Over the course of this podcast, it dropped half a point. You probably aren't surprised as to why. I think the acting in this movie is okay. I don't know anyone being a really phenomenal actor, but these kid actors are better than the kid actors in Dear Santa. Less annoying, so I think everyone's acting okay. And Adam Scott, a lot of people love him in Severance. I think he's just an okay actor. That's just me. I think he does well with what he's given, but I don't really
like
see
him
his
in Parks
performances
and Rec.
really. I don't really see his. He doesn't play the same character, but his acting is the same. If that makes sense.
He's always like
So
Mr. Stiff.
yeah.
I haven't seen him in Severance.
Yeah.
I feel like Severance is supposed to be the ranged one where we get his range and stuff like that.
Yeah. So anyway, acting overall I think is okay. The costume department, I think the costuming, totally standard and fine, but the look of the art and everything into Krampus and the elves and the toys and everything, I think will look very cool. All their designs are very cool and creepy and eerie and spooky in a way that kind of give its own feeling. It's not mimicking anything else prior. It's not like, oh, it looks like something from Tim Burton, or oh, that looks like something from like John Carpenter, or oh, that looks like whatever. It has its own feel and style to it. And I think that's really cool. I also really like that it's not all CGI work. Like there's actually like practical effects into what's on screen. I think the CGI in this movie is actually pretty bad. The gingerbreads with the nail gun is probably the best bit, but other than that, it's probably pretty bad overall. The cloud, I think, probably is my least favorite. It looks very blobby and just like a growth render kind of thing rather than an actual like cloud formation look. Um, I think the writing is weak. Definitely a lot of parts that could have been strengthened, but I see what they're going with, what they have. Kind of feels like a puzzle where all the pieces fit, but the image doesn't look good. Because I get that they want their comedy bit, they want the family tonal feel for connection to the characters, they want the horror element, and they have that placed where I think is appropriate in the movie for where those scenes should take place. But overall, it's meshed not well with its pacing. And I don't think there's enough time given in those areas of effect for it to really hit home. There's not like a really wow, that was a really scary bit, or ooh, that was actually really emotional hitting between these two characters, or wow, that joke really landed. I didn't get that really with any of it. We've all brought up that Beth is, I think Ryder brought up Beth was the best kill in the movie. I think it was the most creative one. It had the most build up to it and the most horror tension for it. Um, but even still, it was an off-screen death, and a lot of this is off-screen death. I think my score would be definitely higher on everything if this was a rated R and they gave gore, showed visual, actual like kid traumatization kind of thing of like, wow, this is really happening around them because that's what Krampus is doing. He's not a good guy, kind of thing. I think the cinematography overall is pretty good and fine. I will give props to editing on transitional usages. I think there are some pretty darn good transitions in this movie. From outside to inside, I think my favorite one is the comedy one of Howard saying he'll take first watch and then automatically sleeping, the bell out of the animation into the grandma holding it. So there's good ones. I think the animation of the backstory looks good, gives it its own feel, very storybooky feel, I think, which is good for this Christmas themed film. I think lighting's okay. I always forget something, but overall, I have my objective at a 6. It did get bumped down because over conversation and aid from the two of you, there are a lot of things that just go into the writing and the world and the pacing of the story of like just a lot of things that could make sense but don't make sense. And I was hoping maybe they would strengthen and aid, but you two had your own thoughts or didn't know, so that fell through for me kind of thing. So it helped me cement more to just a 6. So I think this movie's made well enough, but it still has a lot of bad things to it, and it definitely needs a rework, I think. Subjectively, this is a creepy Christmas horror movie, and there's not a lot of those, I think. I mean, a lot of people would probably go to Nightmare Before Christmas. I wouldn't really say that's a scary movie, but it is a scary vein of movie around like a Christmas theme, and this is another one that I think I would put in it. It's definitely a little more of horror than Nightmare Before Christmas, of course, but I think with how much is not actually shown, that this is something to place in there, so that genre is a little small, I think. Sure, people could also bring up things like Black Christmas. I know a lot of people really like that one. Or Red Christmas. I know Crimson's a fan of that one. No pun intended.
I think we all are.
Okay, moving on. But I did get some enjoyment in this movie. I would have, again, enjoyed it more if it showed more, did more. But the biggest hit for me, of course, was that family photo thing. That I could not believe that. I understand that's like the start off of like this family isn't the greatest family, but man, that just irked me so much in my own experience subjectively. But I will give this movie a 6.5.
All right, so some middling numbers, I guess. No
Hey,
polarizing.
you said my
thoughts.
word.
Yeah. And you know what? I think this movie is fine to sit there.
Yeah, I agree. Anything before Ryder takes us out?
We all said that we wish this movie was R and definitely could have been better, but I'm glad we also all see that there are ways that this movie could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
could've been
we
worse.
went into that in great detail.
I guess last part is I think when this releases, Happy Holidays.
Yes, this is the last Christmas. I think
Related.
December release, because the one
Yeah.
after this is for a different holiday.
Ooh.
I guess that's a best hint to give. But
Is there anything else, gentlemen, or shall I read us out?
Let's go.
I think that's it.
Alrighty, audience. Thank you for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, and Samsung. And if you have to be on our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, thank you for watching our PNG Duper slideshow there. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And as always, I've been a geeky writer,
I'm Crimson Maroon.
Sprinks.
and we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.